I, 22F, am giving my baby up for adoption. My ex, 34M, and his family are making my life miserable. What do I do? My boyfriend, M34, and I were together for almost 3 years, but it wasn't a good relationship and it got very bad, and I finally found the courage to leave him a few months ago. Of course, afterwards, I found out I was pregnant. We didn't plan this and always used condoms. I really didn't want kids either, and I am definitely not in a situation to have one right now. So for me, the decision to give the baby up was made quickly, though with a lot of thought. I'm not saying this is easy. My ex and his family, however, hate me for it. I told them if they want to keep it, they can, but I won't be involved, unless it's like child support or something, though I'm still studying and work part-time, so it's not a lot. But that's not enough for them. My ex wants us to get back together and be a family. His parents want me to keep their grandbaby and raise it. They want me to stop my studies and focus on being a mom. Neither him or his parents are in a good place to raise a baby either, so that's why they need me. They call me a monster and so much worse. I am exhausted and don't know what to do with it. If I block them, I get visits telling me I can't just cut them off when I'm carrying their child/grandchild and so on. Other family members get involved. I got blasted on Facebook, though I wanted to keep this situation as private as possible, and I'm so tired. I just want all of this to be over with. What can I do to make this situation work somehow? Update. Thank you all for the overwhelming amount of replies. I appreciate it more than I could put into words. I have ripped off the band-aid and I've blocked them all, as well as taken a step back from social media. I called my mom and asked them if I can come home for a while. We called for such a long time, and I told her everything and we were both crying. She told me she was worried even before all of this. I hadn't realized how little contact we had while he and I were together. At a decent time, I'll contact school and look into attorney options, as well as figure out what I will do with this pregnancy. Now I just really need some sleep. I'll probably book a hotel my parents offered to pay until I can get home to them. Thank you all so much, truly. Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "So, a guy 12 years your senior, in his 30s, dating and being unkind to his teenage girlfriend, is trying to coerce you into staying in a bad relationship and stopping school to be a mom? That's just abuse and being trapped waiting to happen. Talk to an attorney and be by the book. If you have to get a no-contact order or order of protection, do it. You've chosen to keep the pregnancy and adopt. Let them talk to your attorney, but stop talking to them directly. I'm sorry you're in this situation." Thank you for the advice. I appreciate it a lot. I'll look into an attorney, and I just worry it'll be expensive. But thanks again. Then user 2 commented and said, "Don't allow his family to bully you into keeping this baby, and do not get back with your crappy ex for the sake of the baby. It won't get better for you just because a baby is in the mix now. In fact, I'm willing to bet it'll be much worse, especially given the fact that you're only working part-time. Him and his family will expect and bully you into being a stay-at-home mother, and you will have to rely on and depend on them financially, leading you to stay in the relationship even longer than you need to be. Your best bet? Block them and call 911 if they stop by unnecessarily to bully you again." Thank you for your reply. It means a lot. I just feel lost in it. I care about this baby, though it may not seem like I do, but that relationship got so horrible in the end, despite the good times. I want to stay as far away as I can, but this complicates everything so much. I do worry if I'm being selfish. Then user 3 commented and said, "Stop talking to these people. Tell them directly in writing over text message to leave you alone. Use the words, 'Do not contact me again. If you continue to harass me, I will involve the police.' And then if they continue to harass you by contacting you or showing up in person, do not talk to them. Go to the police and tell them you are being harassed. Find an adoption agency in your area that makes you feel comfortable. Consider asking your local Planned Parenthood for a referral because they'll probably know the best adoption organization to work with, and then start working with them. They will be able to give you more specific support and advice about how to handle these a-holes and what you need to do to be in compliance with the law. This is literally their job, and they would love to help you." And finally, user 4 commented and said, "Adopting the baby out sounds like a healthy and mature decision. Good for you and good for the baby. Don't let them talk to you into keeping it if you don't want to. You already know how it's going to end. If you have to care for the baby and the man, they will make your life a living hell, and the baby will grow up in an unloving environment." Update 2 weeks later. People were asking for an update, and I thought I would do it like this. Most important things first. I'm alright. I'm at home with my parents, who are the most wonderful people in the world. I'm very lucky, and I'm still pregnant. I know a lot of people were recommending abortion, and it's something I thought about a lot, even when I had just found out. but I was in a state that had it banned, and terrified of the possible repercussions, retaliation by my ex and his family, and so on, I'm sticking with my plan for adoption, and please respect that. Don't get me wrong, I know everyone was saying it with my well-being in mind, and I'm incredibly grateful, and I've never felt so supported in my life. But anyway, after my first post, I blocked my ex and his family. I closed my social media accounts though, and I did explain to some people close to me what was going on. My ex and his family didn't take it that well, and after blocking them all, I somehow got more calls and messages than ever through all different kinds of media, and numbers that I didn't even know. And per your advice, I kept it all. Mostly, it was them trying to make me feel guilty about not being a mom. They're quite traditional, and that I can't just cut them off because I carry this baby and so on. They said they were worried and I should go to them, so we can figure this all out. Sometimes it was things that didn't make any sense, which made me wonder what my ex was telling them. Like that I chose to get pregnant and want to give it up as some vengeance towards my ex, that I drink, which I don't, and so on. When I gave them nothing, it got less kind, even talking about what had happened if I terminated the pregnancy. And I don't know if he went to my place because I was not there. I've been holding strong and not giving him any reply, though it's exhausting. I genuinely considered just giving in because I didn't have a fight left in me. I flew home though, and my parents have been a great help. They support my choice, and though I see it hurts them, it hurts me too. But it's the right one. My parents are helping with the attorney side of things, so I don't have to do it alone, and it's given me some comfort knowing for a fact I can sign away my parental rights regardless of what they do, however selfish that may be. I don't think they'll end up doing much. I haven't heard from his family in a few days, plus the last message I got from my ex, he kinda apologized. Said he panicked, we've been through a lot with the breakup, and me going for adoption was too much, but that he gets it and that the adoption probably is the best choice. I haven't replied because I worry it's just to get a response, but I do hope it's true. Also, his sister has been continuously kind. She has a different mindset, and that's where we're at, I guess. I'll probably go home in a few weeks, if only for my studies. But being here and being able to catch my breath is a lifesaver. I really want to say thanks to all of you, and sorry again for bothering you with all of this. Then in the comments section, OP elaborated on if her ex wanted to take care of the child. He doesn't want the responsibility by himself. They believe moms are for childcare. And finally, one user commented and said, "You made the right choice for yourself. That's what being pro-choice is. I think you are making the right decision for all involved. You are not ready to be a parent, and knowing that shows immense maturity on your part. That is a gift to your child, whether or not you or the child ever realize it. It is never wrong to do what is best for yourself. The airplane oxygen mask story, which is putting on your mask before helping others, is the best example of this philosophy there is. Keep referring to that when you have doubts. The downside to keeping a child that isn't wanted for any reason is greater than the harm of adoption to a set of parents wanting a child. After having given up a child myself, I can totally relate to the struggles with this decision. Some 30 years later, it was the best decision for the both of us. You will always wonder, and that is okay. Know that, and let go. It will get easier with time. Always do what is best for you. In reality, you only have yourself to rely on. Everyone else's help along the way is a bonus. Nothing is owed to you, and you owe nothing to anyone. You are going to be just fine. Believe in yourself." Well, that was a nice final comment. It's always good to get advice and encouragement, but it's even better to get it from somebody who's been in your shoes. To tell you, like, firsthand, hey, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen, and this is how you deal with it. Also, and I'm not making fun of OP, but I'm just so grateful for the fact that my life has never gotten so haywire that I needed to go to Reddit and make a post of it. Because some of the stories we read, oh my goodness. But thankfully, OP was smart enough with the advice to document everything and has evidence should things escalate. But hopefully the ex's family has called a ceasefire and can move along. And like she said, the ex seemingly apologized, and I guess he noticed the error of his ways. So hopefully it ends there. The kid can get to adoption and OP can keep on living her life. Anyway, next story. Story number 2. A sweet story of OP and her stoic husband. OP posted her husband's story due to request. Final update. I'm using a different account so that my husband doesn't know. Before meeting my current husband, I was married to my ex-husband, Dave. Dave and I met when we were 5 years old. He moved into our neighborhood when he was 5. He was this cute boy next door. We became inseparable. Even our parents joked that when we became adults, we would get married. Ever since I knew the concept of marriage, I was determined that I would marry Dave. We were like soulmates. We had the same interests, the same hobbies, the similar thoughts. He was my first everything, my first kiss, my first boyfriend, the guy I lost my virginity to. Amongst our friends, we were the perfect couple. After graduating high school, we immediately got married. I got into a good school, but I decided to study with Dave. We got married right after we finished high school. Our parents helped us find an apartment close to our school. We worked hard. We would often talk about having kids. On our 6th anniversary, we decided that we would try for a baby next year. I still remember the day when we were teenagers and cuddling. We already decided what our baby's name would be. During our 7th year of marriage, my mom got sick, so I had to stay with her for a while. I was planning to do something special for our 7th year anniversary, so I left early to surprise him. I went to my bedroom, and then there I saw my husband effing another girl in our marital bed. I can never get that image out of my head. My husband saw me, and his face turned pale. I don't know what happened, but I threw up right on the spot. My husband was giving me the usual, "It's not what it looks like, I'm sorry, it was a mistake," and I locked myself in the bathroom. I somehow mustered up the strength to call my friend to pick me up, and I just did not listen to Dave. When my friend arrived, she charged at Dave. She grabbed some of my things, and we left. I was in a catatonic stage at that point. Eventually, my parents knew, and they supported whatever decision I would make. Dave's parents, however, wanted us to be together. There was a huge fight, but eventually we settled for divorce. My whole fairy tale fantasy just shattered. I was spiraling into depression. My parents booked me for therapy, and for 2 years, I was like a living corpse. After that, my friend pushed me to go on a date. I did, but no one even came close to Dave. I was searching for Dave in every guy, but they all failed to live up to the expectations. That is when I met my now husband, Jay. Jay was the opposite of Dave. Dave was funny. He would be the life of the party. I remember one time he made me laugh so hard that I fell from my chair. But Jay was not funny like Dave. He would use humor only as clapbacks, and if he wanted to insult someone. He was very stoic and closed off, pretty boring to my taste. On our first date, I asked him some questions like, "What is your favorite movie?" He told me he doesn't watch movies. He likes reading. He didn't even ask me a thing, except for my educational background. He talked mostly about my field of work, but he was not interested in me. We ate dinner in silence, and I was 100% sure he will not call me. But 2 days later, he did. He asked me out on a second date. I was skeptical of whether or not I should go, but my friend insisted. I gave it another try. The second date went slightly better than the first. He talked a bit more, asked a few more questions. We were taking it slow. He was opening up until the 6th date when he finally hooked up, and TMI, it was amazing, and I am someone who has a snack after having sex, and I was craving for something, so I asked him if I could grab something from his pantry. Even a bread and cheese sandwich will do. He told me to stay right there, and then he went out. I was kinda confused, but he came back after 20 minutes with takeout food. It was something I really liked, orange chicken. I asked him how he knew, and he told me, "You told me on our previous date," and I melted right there. Dave and I have been together for most of my life, but he never made the effort of going out and getting me something. That's when I knew even if he was not my soulmate, I was madly in love with him. We dated for 3 years and got married, and I came to know about Jay's family too. His mom and dad were drug addicts who died of overdoses. He was homeless for a while, but he worked his way up. Throughout our marriage, I was very, very happy. He was different from Dave because whenever he would see me doing chores, he would ask, "Need help?" And he helped me through my trauma from Dave by arranging a therapist that specializes in infidelity. He may not be a person of words, but his actions tell me that he loves me. When I was pregnant with our daughter, I would wake him up in the middle of the night to either get me food or rub my feet, and he would say, "Yes, ma'am," and get to work. I love him. Even after 15 years of marriage, my love has not stopped. He is still the stoic man I fell in love with, and after meeting him, I stopped believing in the concept of a soulmate. He was not mine, but we somehow made it work. I love you, Jay, and thanks for being there in my life. And for anyone who is wondering what happened to Dave, he is getting his 3rd divorce. His mom blames me for his downfall, but she refuses to see that her son cheated on every marriage he's had. Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "Who knows, maybe Jay is your soulmate. He seems to be more ideally suited to you from the beginning than Dave ever was." From the outside, we do not look like soulmates. Dave and I were the typical girl next door and boy next door kind of people. Jay was more closed off. Initially, when I was dating him, he was really rude in my opinion. He also had a bad temper towards people who screw up. But other than that, he is good and kind, and he helps those who genuinely needs help. Then user 2 commented and said, "After reading this all I can say is F Dave, metaphorically, and F Jay, literally, in several positions, then have a nice dessert. I'm glad to hear you are happy. I hope you and Jay and your kids have many, many more happy years ahead of you." When it comes to effing Jay in several positions and having a nice dessert, I have been doing that for 18 years, and he still gets me a snack every time. Then user 3 commented and said, "You said that his mother blames you for your ex's downfall, but it can't be the fault of her effing child being an immoral, faulty human being, could it? I am poly. I have a different attitude to sex around a relationship, but promises are promises regardless. Commitment is commitment no matter what flavor, and Dave is clearly emotionally incomplete. I never believed in soulmates from childhood, but you know when it works. When it's right, you just had to have a trial marriage to refine your definition." According to his mom, he was devastated when I wanted a divorce. She tried to convince me to stay with him even after knowing he so cheated. She was so angry at me and my parents when I said no. She blames me because she thinks that if I had stayed, her son would not have become a serial cheater because I could have fixed him. His other marriage failed because he was a mess because of me, not because he was effing other people on the side. Then user 4 commented and said, "Dave was never your soulmate. Jay was. Just took time to find him." When I asked Jay if he believes in soulmates, he told me, "I don't believe in that crap. It's just like horoscope. People believe in it because it makes them feel better. A lot of potential good relationships get broken because of that crap." I was kinda devastated that he doesn't believe in soulmates. Can you believe in these 18 years we have only said I love you only 5 times as far as I can count? I want to say it more. New post. I have said I love you to my husband after 5 years. My husband 47M and I 46F have been together for 18 years and married for 15. My husband is not the type who always shows his feelings. He's very stoic, smiles on very few occasions, and maintains a routine. Some even say that he is a robot, but I don't think so. I am someone who is very outgoing and completely the opposite of him. Before I was married to him, I was married to someone else who cheated on me. I used to say I love you a lot in my first marriage, but after my divorce, I had some sort of aversion to those words. Over the last 18 years, we have said I love you only 5 times. First time was when we were dating. Second was on our wedding day. Third and fourth when our daughter and son were born. And fifth was 5 years ago in Christmas, when we were really tipsy because of the drinks. I wrote a post about how I met him and how we got together, but it made me realize that we haven't said I love you to each other for a long time. But it didn't bother me. Even if he never said it, he always shows that he loves me in his actions. He does chores for me. He would always give me a foot massage, make me my favorite dish, even kiss me out of the blue. I do not have any complaints. He is the best husband anyone could ever ask for. But this was something that has been in the back of my mind for a while. We cuddle, we hang out, we make love, but still no I love yous. I would love to hear it and say it more often, but somehow it just makes me nervous. I decided to buckle up and just say it. It's just 3 words. So yesterday, when he was reading a book on the couch, I stood in front of him and said, "I love you," and he looked at me and was confused, and I repeated it. For the first time, I could see him get flustered. He told me, "Okay," and I was a little disappointed by his response. I thought he just didn't love me anymore. Later that night, when I was lying down, he came to our bedroom and told me that he is sorry for his response, that it caught him off guard, and he told me that he loves me a lot. And not even a day goes by that he doesn't feel lucky to have me in his life. I was tearing up. That was better than my confession. I asked him why doesn't he say it more often? And he told me that he doesn't say it because throughout his entire life, no one has said it to him except for me. His parents were drug addicts who cared less for him. He had to start working since 14. He grew up in hardships, so saying I love you was weird for him. But also, he feels like we didn't have to tell each other when we express it with our actions way more. I told him I want to say it more now, and I want him to say it back if that's okay with him. I saw him smile for a while, and he said it is fine as long as I want it. I don't think we need to say it when we know we love each other a lot, and we will probably stop saying it after a few days and go back to our mundane events. Update. A lot of you people have been asking me and personally messaging me about Jay's upbringing and how he managed to survive. Well, I am not sure if I'm the right person to talk about his personal life. I mean, I heard some parts which really made me cry. Therefore, I will try to summarize it. So, my husband Jay is an only child. His mom and dad were from a poor family. They were drug addicts. His household was a mess. He remembers his father pushing him down the stairs when he was like 8. Jay mostly grew up with his grandfather, his mom's dad, and as far as I know, his mom was not allowed to come to his grandfather's house. Jay mostly spent his weekdays at his house. His mom and dad didn't care. They were always high and had odd visitors. His grandfather taught him a lot of things, like handling tools, woodwork, electric repair stuff. Ever since he was little, with some advice from his grandfather, he learned that his parents are very useless. He has to survive on his own. All they know is how to do drugs and invite people over for group sex. He started doing odd jobs like dog sitting, car and window washing, gardening. He also tutored from time to time. Shortly after, his parents died of an overdose. He became a permanent resident of his grandfather's house. He worked so that he could afford to go to college. His grandfather had little money for him, but it wasn't enough. He thought about joining the army at 18, but he failed the physical test. When he was 17, his grandfather died of a heart attack. His grandfather lived in a rented house, so Jay couldn't live there anymore. He was forced to live in a homeless shelter throughout high school, and he even got bullied and got in trouble for standing up to his bullies. But since he was a good student, he didn't face serious repercussions. He left the homeless shelter when a pastor from their local church took him in. He knew Jay because he worked in the church for a while. The pastor was a nice guy. He funded his living and also helped him get a scholarship to a good university. Jay studied finance and business. His entire childhood, he lived in poverty, so he was obsessed with learning how to make money. He made some connections which landed him a good part-time job during his final year. And I met Jay through my friend. She worked in the same company as him, and he worked as an investment banker at the time. And the rest, you all know. That is pretty much it. I understood why he is so stoic and doesn't show his emotions. I once asked out of curiosity that he saw the harsh reality of life, but still, how does he manage to stay good? He once told me about this couple whose children that he used to tutor. They were a really happy family in his eyes. The husband loved his wife, and he mentioned that the husband would always have a hand on his wife's body as a form of affection. The children were also well-behaved and had a good childhood, and from that moment he knew he wanted a family like that, because he never had a complete family. But he was sure that somebody would not be able to love him because he doesn't know how to show love. Throughout his entire childhood, he has only seen his parents fight and cheat on each other in front of each other. That really destroyed his perception of love. If it wasn't for that couple, he probably wouldn't believe that there are people in this world who can love each other for life. It is a little wrong of me to say that he displays no emotions. He does, but on rare occasions. I remember the day our daughter was born. Jay held her and cried loudly. He kept repeating, "I will protect you. I never will leave you." And he did say, "I love you" to both me and her. The same thing happened when our son was born. I mean, it gave me an idea to just pop out baby so that I can see his emotional face. But anyways, I know he does love me and our little family. He always holds me tight whenever we are cuddling, and he is really good with my parents. My parents also adore him. Sometimes it just makes me cry knowing that he has been through a lot, and I have lived such a sheltered life. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve him, because he is a very kind and good person. And yeah, we do say I love you a lot more now. Final update. I just wanted to give big thanks to everyone who has been kind and supportive. I cannot imagine that so many people will come through because of my post. A lot of you suggested therapy. To be honest, I did in the past, but my husband brushed it off by saying his past rarely bothers him. Thanks to people on Reddit, I suggested him some articles on PTSD and childhood trauma. He studied for a bit and found a therapist for him to help him with his trauma, and he's only had 2 sessions till now. Well, a few days ago he came home from work and I went to greet him like usual, and he pulled me in for a big hug and started sobbing. I told him it's okay. We went to our bedroom where we sat down and talked, and he told me that he was sorry for being so ice cold all these years. He opened up more and said he was afraid to confront his demons, so he just kept them back in his head. He had trouble expressing how he felt. He felt guilty that he didn't say he loves me more often. And I'm just paraphrasing what he told me, but he said, "I love you with all my heart. I know I don't say it, but I feel it every day and every moment. I'm sorry for taking away all those years from you, for not expressing my love for you. Words cannot express what you actually mean to me. You gave me my kids, made my house a home. I never had that growing up. I always wanted that, and you made it happen. And I'm sorry that I was so cold and never said I love you more, because I do. I love you a lot. I want to make it up for you. I don't want to waste another second of my life burying those emotions anymore." And Reddit, it feels good to see him vulnerable for the first time in his life. I cried with him that night. We talked a lot about our marriage and the times we spent. It was a real bonding experience. From that day on, he has been really attentive towards me. He would always come home as early as possible to simply have more time with me. We cuddle a lot and also make love, except this time it feels new and different, like a newfound love. He has been saying "I love you" to my kids, and my son is confused, and my daughter just said, "Dad, you are weird." He is thinking about planning a trip for just the two of us, because it has been a really long time since we went on a trip alone. So, thanks Reddit. You gave me a new version of my husband and probably strengthened my marriage. Wow, what a beautiful, loving story. I have to admit that I was slightly concerned when she made the new post saying, "My husband doesn't say he loves me," because, Reddit can do its things sometimes, but Reddit did its positive thing this time, not its negative thing, and he went to therapy. I'd say it like twice a video. I've toned it down a little recently, but ultimately, what a great ending for this story, right? Like, the fact that they're 18 years in and have now, I guess, restoked the flames, have found a new love, as OP put it. I think that's the best way. A newfound love, an improved and strengthened love 18 years in. And, while she didn't exactly go what he went through, she went through some stuff with her ex-husband as well. And, he's got his own stuff going on, all right? We can get 2 seasons with him and then he'll get canceled because of ratings. This is the show I want to watch. OP and the hubby and the kids, all right? 5 seasons of this. Who will sign it? Hopefully not Netflix, because their track record just, I don't know what's going on over there. Anyway, next story. Story number 3. My 41M wife, 41F, kissed another man on a night out. I wasn't bothered, and now she's causing issues over it. Sorry if the title doesn't make much sense. I don't know how to avoid it. Also, I'm on a throwaway as I don't want this on my main. Bit of context. We've been together since we were 18. Never had a great sex life after the first year. Maybe once or twice a year at most since then, but at the minute, it's going on 3 years. And although it bothers me, I love her, and I love her kids, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I know plenty of friends in the same situation. Another bit of context is that I've always been mildly overweight, but always fit as I played a lot of sports until about 10 years ago, when I got really ill, and a mixture of meds and comfort eating made me balloon up to nearly 300 pounds. Well, 2 years ago, I decided to do something about it. I'm now around 200, which at 6'2" is the lightest I've been as an adult, and I've actually enjoyed using weights and for the first time in my life, have a bit of abs and some muscle. My wife, having always been far hotter, is pretty obviously insecure about the fact that for the first time we've been together, women are starting to look at me and message me on baking pages on social media. For the record, I've never even looked at another woman in that way. Now on to the night in question. My wife went out with some friends, a mix of single and in a relationship, and she looked stunning, and I told her so. I even updated my phone home screen to that picture of her. One of the friends she was out with messaged me about 3 months, and the gist was she knows I get no sex. My wife doesn't realize how lucky she is, and basically, do I want to hook up? I obviously took a screenshot and sent it to my wife. Around 4 a.m., my wife gets home and she wakes me up as she gets into bed. I'm half awake, but I can tell something is wrong and ask what the matter is. She doesn't say anything for a few seconds, and as I go to grab her hand, she pulls away. I ask if she wants me to get her a drink, and she says no. Then she just blurts it out and says, "I met a guy tonight and he kissed me. I didn't kiss back at first, but then I did. Then for the next half hour we were dancing and constantly kissing," and she kept saying sorry and begging me not to leave her. My honest first reaction was, "So, was it only kissing and dancing?" I didn't say that, I just hugged her and tried to calm her down. An hour or so later, once I got the right words in my head, I said, "I know you really feel guilty, but please don't. I'm not going to leave you and break up our family over some kissing and dancing, and I don't love you any less than I did yesterday. And this isn't something that's going to grow and cause resentment." More or less, right on cue, my phone goes off, and it's that friend of hers with a picture and a video of what my wife was doing. This set my wife off again, but my feelings still haven't changed, and a month later, that remains the case. In that month since then, my wife has accused me of not loving her because I didn't care. She's accused me of kissing other people and more, which is why I didn't care as I was covering up my own indiscretions. And she's accused me of being gay multiple times, which doesn't make sense. She keeps asking me why I haven't initiated anything with her, even though in the past she's told me she hates being touched and to not ever try it on her, which I have respected. She's basically projecting, and it's annoying me, as it's putting a strain on us, which she is 100% causing. How do I get through to her that she needs to stop feeling guilty and just move on, because I have, and it's not a big deal? I was genuinely more annoyed when she broke my baking bowl and tried to blame it on the cat. Edit. Hi everyone, just wanted to say thank you all for taking the time to respond to me. I really do appreciate it, and I'm overwhelmed that you all took the time. I keep getting asked a few questions, so I thought I would address them here. Over the years, we've been to a few different couples counselors and sex therapists, and the latest being last September for both of us. My wife always feels like she's being victimized by them, and we stop going. Nearly all of them have said they think she is asexual, and 2 of them even said that she's probably displaying a lot of signs of being a closeted lesbian, which I have brought up to her before, and she's adamant that she's not. On that note, I've had a lot of messages saying she wants to feel wanted and for me to be more forward with her. This is not true. In all of our sessions, she said she doesn't want me trying it on with her. She doesn't even want me to initiate hugs, and just bringing up sex makes her feel under pressure. She let me and our therapists know that if she ever did sex without her initiating it, it will be no more than pity sex. As for people saying I don't love her, I buy her flowers every Friday on the way home from work. I bake her favorite cookies or cupcakes every weekend. I send her voice notes of songs I'm listening to that remind me of her. I tell her I love her every day. I run her a bath every night. This isn't me showing off. This is how I was brought up to show love, for those saying I must have been brought up in an unloving home. People have also said that if I didn't get jealous, then I don't love her. If she told me she was having an emotional affair, if she spent hours on the phone with someone else laughing and joking, she snuggled on a sofa eating chocolates and watching TV with someone, etc., I'd be devastated. Well, a dance and a kiss isn't a big deal to me, and not even close to divorce. So, thank you all again for reading. Edit number 2. Sorry for these. It's 7 a.m. in the morning here now, the day after I posted this. I've been talking to my wife since 6 and said she's got a week to agree to go back to couples counseling, and she's got to stick it out this time and not just accuse them of taking sides and refuse to go back. She said no. She said they all bully her and make her out to be the bad guy. She said I went back on my word that I forgive her and won't resent her. I said this isn't about the kiss, it's about her reaction since the kiss, and that it feels like she's purposefully trying to drive me away and make me leave her. She just got up and stormed out of the room. She then got dressed and said she's going out until I go to work. Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "She's trying to sabotage the relationship, and she's getting mad that you won't let her." That's the conclusion I'm heartbreakingly coming to. This hurts infinitely more than seeing her kiss someone else. Then user 2 commented and said, "Did it ever occur to you that she wants you to be jealous and to fight for her? Blowing it off and being nonchalant about it makes it feel like you don't care about other men hitting on her. All she wants of you is to get jealous about what happened, because if you don't, it's going to escalate from kissing to an affair, just to get your attention and reaction." Well, if she's playing those sort of games, then I will leave her. That's what teenagers do, not adults in their 40s. Then user 3 commented and said, "Others have said the same, but you both need to have a grown-up conversation to understand what is really going on here. Is the relationship working? Do you both remain committed? And do you see a future together? If so, couples counseling is the only way to go. You can fix it here. If not, then divorce. Do it as kindly as possible, but do it quickly. No point dragging something out which is destined to fail." I'm happy to spend the rest of my life with her. I love her and my kids and the life we have. Would I like more sex? Yes, but we've been to the doctors. We've been to sex counselors, and they've found no problems. It's just who she is, and I'm happy to live with that if it means I get to be with her and the kids. Then user 4 commented and said, "First, her friend who has the hots for you is in her ear. Second, maybe you need to take a look at your relationship and rekindle the romance.
Maybe that's what she needs. I mean, why would her friend know about it? You guys are maybe acting like old married couples, and you are too young for that.
I try and be romantic. I buy her flowers every Friday on my way home from work. I bake her favorite snacks every weekend. Even stupid little things like giving her the dinner that looks most presentable on the plate. On cold mornings, I'll get out of bed early to warm her car up and defrost it before she goes to work. On the physical side, I always tell her how beautiful she is, how hot she looks, because she effing is. She's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, and I wouldn't change anything at all about her. She couldn't be more perfect to me. I just don't know what more I can do. And this is what her friend said to me. The message she sent me was so long, and it seems like she knows an awful lot. And she also sees it herself. There was one bit I keep thinking back to when she said she was around us, and I'd made my wife a homemade card and wrote a poem in it. And when I left the room, she said my wife made a gagging face to her friend and started laughing. I can remember hearing a noise and then laughter, and I thought she just choked on her drink. That hurts me infinitely more than a kiss and a dance. Then OP elaborated on if his wife is not attracted to men and said, I've asked her this numerous times throughout the marriage, and even suggested if she wanted to explore that side of herself, then she could try and find herself and be who she really is. She always battled it away and said she's not a lesbian, she just has a low sex drive. This has always been my thought over the years, and I've brought it up to her privately, in couples counseling and in sex therapy. The sex therapist also said she's giving a lot of signs of being a closeted lesbian as well. And finally, OP elaborated on how they had kids if they only have sex once a year. Both times we tried for kids, she got pregnant pretty much instantly. First one within a month, second one within 2 months. We'd had sex every day, but no foreplay or anything, unfortunately. Update, 12 days later. It's been nearly 2 weeks since I made the post, and the short update is that we are getting divorced. I said in my last post I told her I wanted us to go back to couples counseling and sex therapy. She said no to both as we went before, and she felt bullied. She said at sex therapy that unless she initiates touching, not just sex, any touching like hugs or hand-holding, it will be against her will and will be forced/pity affection from her. The sex therapist said that's very unreasonable, and that's why she felt bullied there. I tried to ask her a few questions too. Are you a lesbian or at least bi?
Don't be stupid.
Are you asexual?
I'm not a teenager with a stupid label.
What did he have that I don't?
Nothing, I just wanted to do it.
Why don't you ever want to do that with me?
I don't know.
What can I do to make you want to do that with me?
I don't know.
And do you want me to take the initiative and try it on with you more?
F no. I'll tell you when I want it. Don't guess.
So she refused the therapy and gave me no straight answers. She also said I've gone back on my word about not letting the kiss split us up, because now it is. I said it's not the kiss, it's your behavior since then that has caused me to want a divorce. She said as it's my decision to divorce and it's all my fault, then I should be the one to tell our kids, and she will have no part of it. That was hard. As soon as they were told, my wife left for her sisters, and in the 3 days since, I haven't heard anything from her. I've tried speaking to her about the kids as they miss her, but she reads my messages and ignores me. A lot of people asked me about the friend and why they still talk after she tried it on with me. How I understand it is my wife tried to get the friend group to cut the friend out, but they all pretty much refused, and so my wife just chose to ignore her in group settings. On the night in question, the friend approached my wife and told her if she didn't tell me, she would send me the video. So my wife didn't tell me because she felt guilty, but because she was forced. I've also spoken to a couple of other friends in the group and asked what's been going on that I'm not privy to. Apparently, my wife was sexting her friend's boyfriend a couple of years ago. My wife has also been boasting about how she has me under her thumb and how she gets away with giving me nothing and that I'm too scared to ask. The friend apparently saw me out shopping one day and decided I was now more effable and thought she would try and exact some revenge on my wife. So she didn't really want me, I was just a pawn in this weird friend group's one of many internal beefs with each other, which I've found out about in the last few days. Basically, they all seem to hate each other and mess with each and everyone's partners. I'll be honest now, and I feel incredibly guilty about it, but when she left, my body and soul seemed to take a massive sigh of relief. It was like a black cloud that was dripping eggshells on the floor for me to constantly avoid was gone. I feel terrible for feeling this way, but I feel like I'm my 6'2" height now rather than a brow-beaten 3-foot who was scared to even say anything for fear of being told I'm wrong or insulted or ridiculed. It's like the blinkers have been taken off. I spent the day baking with my kids, eating Easter eggs and watching cartoons, and I haven't stopped smiling all day. I haven't winced or broke out in a sweat worrying if I'm about to be told off about being too noisy or watching the wrong things on the TV or there's a wrapper on the floor, etc. Thank you everyone for your support on my last post. I appreciate you all. Now here are some more relevant comments. User 1 said,
"You sound like a good person who just wanted to save your marriage. Glad you now realize no woman is worth being treated like you've been treated. It will be rough for a while, but you're gonna come out of this stronger. And never date or marry cold, basic women again."
It is rough, and I do feel like a failure for not being enough for her. But at the same time, I genuinely feel 2 feet taller and 100 pounds lighter since she left. It's a really weird feeling. I know now I'd rather live alone under a bridge than in a household like that again. Then user 2 commented and said,
"You didn't fail her. You failed yourself by believing all this toxic, abusive crap that she was feeding you. And that's understandable. Abuse creeps up on you until it's under your skin. It sounds like she had you convinced you could do nothing right. You deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and honesty. These things cost absolutely nothing. They're baseline standards for human interaction, at least if you're dealing with decent people."
That's exactly how it was. I was scared to even offer an opinion on something, and I still am now. My kids asked yesterday what film I wanted to watch, and I found myself scared to give an answer, thinking whatever I chose would be rejected, and I would be ridiculed. Then user 3 commented and said,
"She doesn't want to take responsibility and is trying to manipulate you into being the bad guy. You want to improve the situation and improve yourself from outside help. She wants the status quo to remain and is blaming the medical professionals for making her comfort the way she treats you. Covert narcissists. Look it up so you don't fall into that trap again. It may suck now, but your sanity should come back to you. You've been living in her mind games for a long time."
She is 100% making me the bad guy. I'm not on social media, but keep hearing about posts saying things like,
"You give your life to someone only for them to drop you when your halo slips a bit,"
or whatever. Then user 4 commented and said,
"Dude, look up covert narcissistic. She caused all the problems. You tried to fix them, but it was never enough or correct for her."
That's what I've been thinking about the last few days, that everything wrong in her life has been tracked back to me and is my fault. From big things like I don't earn enough money for her to live in the house that she wants to, like little things, like she knocked her glass over and it's my fault as I talked to her while she was watching something.
Then OP elaborated on if the kids are old enough to tell them that their mom cheated.
They are too young for that. I just told them that mommy and daddy have decided it's best we don't live together anymore. And it's something a lot of grown-ups do, but it's not the kids' faults. And they are still loved and cherished by both of us. Then OP elaborated on posting the videos and having proof and said, "I've got that video and all the screenshots of her sexting her friends' boyfriends. And also, there are some screenshots of a WhatsApp group chat where she has been posting pictures for strangers to comment on. But it's blatantly her as she has a tattoo under her boob, which is unique to her. There's also some other videos and pictures of nights out which her friend group has sent to me." Then OP elaborated on the UK courts probably not caring much about the cheating so much as the abandonment and said, "Yeah, agreed. The courts don't care. It's much more for my own sake if she tries to twist it on me and say I left her for no reason and she did nothing wrong. I'm keeping a record of her not answering the phone to me or my eldest son and how long it's been since she left, and that she left of her own accord and she has chosen to not come back." And finally, one user commented and said,
"Update us when she realizes the grass ain't greener."
"My wife has been out nearly every night since she went to her sister's. I genuinely hope she does find some nice green grass and decides to be happy." Mini update. 1 week later. After my last update, a lot of people commented and messaged me to say that I am sure my kids are mine. This thought never entered my head until I read what people said. Last Thursday, I opened a paternity test, sent it Friday, and I am awaiting the results. At this point, I don't really care. It won't change my love for them, but I'm terrified if they come back as not biologically mine that I'll lose them. I had discussed this with my lawyer last week, who said if they aren't mine, it will be much harder to even get any custody. And I told him if it comes to that, then I will keep fighting until the end. Blood or not, they are my boys. Speaking of the boys, my soon-to-be ex has seen them a couple of times with her mom, who is genuinely a nice person, and the kids have been fine. I can't say the same about my baking equipment, though. She came into the house on Friday last week when she knew I was out and took a lot of it and purposefully broke some bits that she knew had sentimental value to me that came from my grandma and my mom. I can't prove she did anything, and she brought the stuff back on Sunday and said she just borrowed the items. But I love baking, and she is slowly ruining it for me. I'd already deleted my Instagram page because she was insecure about the women who followed me, and this time she must have remembered I was making a cake for my niece's birthday and tried to sabotage it. I've made notes and screenshots of everything. As a lot of you rightly predicted, she had also been cheating on me a lot, although no evidence of it being physical yet from what I can tell. Her friend, who was also in this WhatsApp group where women basically just post nudes and men comment, sent me a lot more screenshots of photos that she's taken all around our house. Blatantly in her bedroom, some of them, and even one stood up against my car. Also, a few of these friends are single, and when they hook up with somebody, my wife will add the guy on Facebook and has basically been offering herself to them. One of the friends messaged one of the guys who still had the chats in his Facebook DMs and sent the friend a load of screenshots to me. All in all, I must have over 100 screenshots of stuff that she's been saying and sending to people, and all of that is within the last couple of years, so it probably goes on further. As for the divorce, it is still in the early stages. One day I want to fight, the next I just want to give her everything, materially, not the kids, and walk away and just start again so I can get this finished and done. If you've got any questions, I'll try to answer. It's nearly midnight here, but I'll try and stay up. Edit. I've already started recording our phone calls, and on the couple of occasions I've seen her, I've made sure there's a witness. It feels sad that it's come to this. Makes me want to just give her everything in a quick divorce and walk away. Mini update, next day. Guys, I got the DNA results and my sons are mine. Thank you for the support, everyone. Mini update 3. 3 days later. It's 6 a.m. nearly here. My ex-wife has the kids last night, and I'm drunk and lonely. First night I've had to myself in maybe 20-odd years, and I don't know what to do. I thought about getting someone around so I can finally have some physical interaction. Instead, I just sat on my own and drank for the first time in years too. Sorry for the boring post. I'm just lonely and wanted some affection. Mini update, next day. My kids came back at 6 last night, and they were pretty much in bed and asleep by 7. Got a day planned at a fair today, and then an early night ready for school tomorrow. I just instantly feel better when they are back. Update, 2.5 months later. I have moved back to my hometown, and I've given my ex the house. I know people won't be happy with that, but I just want a clean break and no ties to her or that city. The kids are with me and see their mom at weekends, provided I make the 5-hour round trip to drop them off on a Saturday morning and then make the same trip Sunday afternoon to pick them up. I know again people will say I'm doing what she wants, but if it makes my kids happy, it makes me happy. She seems okay with this arrangement, although she has flaked twice already. Once the kids say they no longer want to go, I won't take them. The divorce is still going through, but won't be done for a few more months yet, according to my lawyer. I'm baking a lot more now and loving it, and thank you to everyone who has thought about me because you guys are all so great. Edit. Yes, I am in therapy. It's been a great help in making me realize my worth. Update. 1.5 months later. Title. My 41M ex 41F messaged me yesterday saying she no longer wants to see our 2 kids and is happy to give them away in our divorce. How do I navigate this and all of my mixed emotions? My ex-wife said it was too far for her to travel to have them at weekends, so every Saturday morning I've been driving them up to her and then picking them back up Sunday evening so they can go see their mom. We'd make fun trips out of it and would take snacks, play audiobooks, have sing-alongs, etc., but I noticed they always seemed happier to be picked up than taken there. I just always assumed it was because all their stuff and their main home was with me. My ex has started to cancel these weekends a bit recently. 3 of the last 5 she's canceled. She started to say things like, "They don't like me anyway," and "You've poisoned them," which is not true. I have never said a bad thing about their mom to them, or in front of them, and never would. Plus, I make 2 4-hour round trips every weekend so she can see them, and they can see her. I'll be honest, every Saturday after I drop them off, I cry all the way home. I miss them so much. They are my best little mates. And every night after dinner, we will all do our chores and do a different activity. Sometimes it's a walk in the woods behind my house, or we bake, or have movie nights, or read books together. I am quite good with my hands and love making and fixing things, whether it's baking, cooking, DIY, or car repairs. And they have started to take an interest too, so we have a couple of projects on the go, like building a kind of Wendy house for them, but it will have game consoles, a fridge for their drinks and snacks, etc. Plus, we are also building a couple of petrol go-karts from scratch for them to race at a nearby track when they are done, which they are designing themselves and we are building together. Basically, my life is taken up with them in the week, and then at the weekends, I feel like a lost zombie until it's time to go get them. Then yesterday, I received a short text message from her saying that she no longer wants to see them. All they do is ask for me anyway. They don't have fun there, and they basically get in the way. I was absolutely heartbroken for my boys, and I rang her straight away. I'll be honest, I started crying as I felt so bad for them, and she genuinely acted like I was annoying her for wanting to get to the bottom of it. She then said to me,
"It sounds like you don't even want them either and are just trying to pawn them off to me on the weekends,"
and then hung up on me. I don't even know how I'm going to tell them this. Do I just say that she's canceled for a few weeks and see how it goes? Do I tell them the truth? How do I say it in a way that kids will understand and won't absolutely crush them? Then I've got the conflicted self-emotion of pure joy that I'll have the whole weekends with them. It's so selfish of me, I know, as they are going to be sad while I'm happy. Has anyone been in a similar situation from my side or the kids' side? How do I handle this?
Now, here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "OP, are the kids in therapy?"
I got them in therapy as soon as we split up because everyone in their life is attached to this one way or another, and they need an outside voice to help them understand it, and someone they can be truly honest with without fear or hurting feelings.
Then user 2 commented and said, "Have her give up her parental rights and talk to a lawyer."
I spoke to a lawyer today, and I've shown him everything, which was then emailed over to him, and he's been sent a letter to her divorce lawyer saying what I want is sole custody.
Then user 3 commented and said, "Don't forget child support. I hope you're receiving it and get it adjusted based on new custody arrangements."
I don't need her money. I make enough to look after us as is. If I was ever to receive anything, it would go into savings for them.
Then OP replied to a comment accusing him of faking everything and said,
So, men can't be abused and made to feel worthless and unloved? She can keep the house. It's worth about 140k pounds. So, 70k is a small price to pay to be rid of her. We don't have alimony here in the UK. Once you are divorced, you are done. We pay child support, but that goes to the main parent, which is me, and she can keep her 25 a week. I don't need it. I've got plenty of anger and resentment towards her. Trust me, mate. If she was on fire, I wouldn't piss on her. But I'm not going to show that anger and resentment in front of the kids, because I am not an effing psycho.
And then OP replied to another comment asking why he would walk away from 70k and said,
It's just going to drag on forever and frustrate the F out of me, as I know it is not worth it. She's going to wreck the house to lower the value. She'll refuse to let people view it. She'll miss all the meetings. She'll refuse to sign anything. She's going to make this unbearable, and I'll be driving 4-hour round trips hundreds of times for no reason. It genuinely isn't worth it. She will make my life a living hell, and I would rather walk away with nothing than me walk away with something. Update, 1 month later. Okay, so as far as her giving up her rights as a parent, it's a lot harder than I thought. Both my lawyers and hers have told me that it's hard to do this in the UK, and neither of them have seen a judge allow it unless there is a physical or sexual chance of harm to the children. However, they have both also said they've never presented a case like this to a judge where both parties agree to it fully. They've drafted an agreement where we both agree to my ex-wife that she no longer has responsibilities towards my children, including financially. Let's see what happens with that, and just waiting now to get a court date. But they said that can be months away. Now onto the hard part, telling my kids. I'll be honest, I haven't. The first couple of weeks I just said mom had canceled again when they asked, and the eldest in particular seemed pretty relieved at this both times, and last weekend they didn't even ask. It's been over a month now since they've seen her. The eldest has also told me that he doesn't like going there anyway, as all she does is sleep and shout. He also told me the other day he prefers his new house and he feels more relaxed. I feel terrible, as I was obviously missing signs before that, and he wasn't fully happy when we were together as a family, but at least he's more comfortable now. I had a bit of a wobble last night with my youngest, though. He was watching Land Before Time, and then he started saying he misses his mom, and then started crying. It was full-blown tears, and breaking down. It was awful to see. While I was holding him, I started crying, but I made sure he couldn't see me, and I didn't say anything bad about his mom or tell him she doesn't want to see him anymore. I just hugged him and stroked
stroked his hair and told him I will always be there for him, and he can always come to me if he's upset, happy, or just wants to be silly, and I will never push him away. Once they were in bed, I was in pieces, blaming myself for leaving their mom, questioning why I couldn't be stronger and live with it for a few more years until they were adults. It was me who left. It's me who made them drive up and down the country every weekend, unsettled them, uprooted their lives. And at 2 a.m. this morning, I drafted a text message to my wife asking her to get back together and to be a mom again. Luckily, I didn't send it. I had about 3 hours of sleep, but I feel better this morning. None of her family has been in touch either to try and maintain a relationship with the boys. It's horrible, to be honest, but they are the ones missing out on these two amazing kids. One of her cousins messages me every so often, but she asks more about me than the kids, so that either feels like ulterior motives or a trap, which I am not falling into. As for my divorce lawyer, he said it should hopefully be finalized before Christmas. Not that it'll make much difference. I don't wear my ring, and she has a new 20-year-old boyfriend. Not the guy she cheated with, but it will be nice to finally be able to say ex-wife and for it to be official. Now, here are some more relevant comments. User 1 said, "Why not just say no to her being absolved of all responsibilities? Tell her it's fine that they're not going to come visit anymore, but she still needs to pay child support. Then put it in the bank for your children's future." My ex barely works. I means tested it and she'd pay around £20 a month. Rather go without. Then OP replied to a similar comment and said, "She works 15 hours a week. When I did an online means tester, it was about $20 a month. Small price to pay to be rid of her. I have a 5-figure savings account for both of them, plus my garage, which is a successful business, and I own the land it's built on. £20 a month is £240 a year. I can make that in a morning on a side job on a car. I'd rather do that once a year than have to have a reason to talk to her ever again." Then OP replied to a commenter saying it's okay for his kids to see him cry and said, "They have seen me cry before, but I just didn't want him to think it was his fault that I was crying." Then one user commented and said, "Were there signs she was like this? Is it possible that this is a mental health issue, or was she always like this and dismissive?" Looking back, she was always dismissive of me. I can count on my hands how many times we've had sex in the last 15 years, and in the end, she banned me from any sort of touching, like holding hands or hugging. She was a good mom until a couple of years ago, and then within a few months, over half of her friend group became single, and that's when she started to change towards the kids too. Then user 2 commented and said, "You're getting a lot of advice here, but I would stay away from Land Before Time. It's traumatizing enough as a movie alone, let alone someone whose mother abandoned them. Always check the movies you let them watch from now on." He said he was going to watch the dinosaur movie, and that normally means Denver the Last Dinosaur on YouTube. I had no idea he picked that one. And finally, user 3 commented and said, "If she doesn't want them now, she didn't then either. So please don't try to get back together. You don't know what kind of damage she was doing to them." Oh, I never would. It was a momentary lapse. So, when OP started going on and on really early in the story about, "Oh, I do this for her, and I do that for her, and I do these, and I just love her so much," I was like, okay, where's the part where you mention what she does for you? And that was never mentioned. And as the story went on, you can kind of see why. She didn't really care about him. She had him under her thumb for who knows how long. I don't know if it was always that way. I don't know if something with OP's upbringing and his past had any factor into this, or if they just gradually got into this abusive relationship over time, but she didn't care about him. Oh, don't touch me. If we have sex, it's because I pity you. Like, oh my goodness. It took him a long time to get out, but he finally did. He's got the kids. He's super happy. He cries when they're gone. He's in therapy, and he's learning to see his worth, which I think was a very important thing that he's picked up along the way. And given everything that we have here, I feel like him and the kids are ready to start the next chapter in their life and be rid themselves of her, but I feel like he can't fully close that current one until he has that conversation with the kids. As tough as it is, the truth has to come out. I feel like they deserve to know that. But anyway, next story. Story number 4. Am I the a-hole for giving my wedding dress to my future daughter-in-law instead of my stepdaughter? I, 42F, got married 24 years ago. I decided that if I had a daughter, I would pass the dress and accessories on to her. I chose a simple, elegant dress rather than what was fashionable at the time because I wanted something timeless that people could wear for generations to come. I had my son Mark, now 22M, a year after, and his father passed away when he was young. I raised Mark as a single mom for several years, and I decided that when Mark married, I would give my dress and accessories to his wife. When I was 33, I met Rob, now 52M. I fell in love with him, and we quickly
married. He became a great father figure for Mark, and I was so excited to have a stepdaughter, Molly, now 24F. My relationship with Molly had a rocky beginning. I've been patient and gentle with her. I've offered to take her shopping or get her nails done. I asked Rob about her favorite foods and made sure to cook those, and she made it clear that she didn't see me as her real mom. Years passed and I never changed the way that I treated Molly. My door was always open for her, but she never treated me the way she thought about me. She called me a trophy wife to my face, and if I ever threw a charity event, she would remark with,
Wow, you're so generous with dad's money.
while she didn't say anything explicitly, I could tell she looked down on me for not having a college degree. A couple of years ago, I made a final offering to Molly. I brought her into my closet and showed her the dress and accessories and told her I would love for her to wear them at her wedding. Some alterations would have to be done though. I am 5'9" and a size 4, while Molly is 5'4" and a size 8. But we could make it work. But Molly scoffed and said I had archaic values and that the dress was trashy and walked out. That was really hurtful because she knew what that dress meant to me and she didn't care. After that, I stopped making as much of an effort to build a relationship with her. 2 months ago, Mark proposed to his college sweetheart Lucy, with whom I have a great relationship with. When Lucy mentioned dress shopping, I showed her my dress. Lucy tried it on and it fit like a glove. She fell in love with it and I told her the dress, shoes, and accessories were hers, and she was so happy and she literally cried. However, a couple of days ago, Molly reached out to me out of the blue to ask if the dress was still available. I told her I had given it to Lucy. She asked me if I could get it back from Lucy, since I offered it to her first. And I told her 1, she didn't want it. 2, it fits Lucy perfectly, and 3, Lucy is the one getting married within the foreseeable future. Now, Molly is saying I'm favoring Lucy over her because she's conforming to traditional standards of femininity, getting married and being thin, and that is absolutely baloney. But it got me thinking that if the roles were reversed and Lucy was the one asking for the dress after initially turning it down, would I give it to her? Is Molly right that I'm favoring Lucy? Am I the a-hole? Then in the comments section, the consensus was that OP was not the a-hole. Update. Next day. Wow, thank you all for your kind words. I wanted to give an update to respond to general questions and comments. First, I want to say that the fact that most of the comments are not the a-hole is very reassuring. It makes me feel better about my decision to not give my dress to Molly. I also saw some comments suggesting this, so I would like to let you know I already gave the dress to Lucy, and it is safe in her apartment now. Molly has already been begging Lucy about the dress, but Lucy told her there's no way in heck she's giving it away. Some of you have also been wondering about Mark and Rob's responses. Mark is currently out of town on business, and I have had no communication with him on this matter. I'm sure he'll be supportive of Lucy though, and I did not bring this up to Rob, because while Molly and I have a difficult relationship, I don't want to sow division between her and her father. However, Rob brought it up last night, saying Molly had contacted him on the matter. Rob was like, "You aren't going to give it to her, are you?" And when I said no, he told me to promise him I would not give the dress to her. It was very comforting to know Rob is on my side. Another thing I want to get clear is I do not expect Molly to conform to certain standards. When I referred to traditional standards of femininity, getting married and being thin, I was paraphrasing words that came out of her mouth. I was raised in a traditional household, but I understand that a lot of women, especially young women, do not share my values. Frankly, Lucy doesn't either. She has an engineering degree and openly talks about wanting to prioritize her career over starting a family, at least for the foreseeable future, and I couldn't be happier for her. I do realize that I could have done a better job communicating to Molly that I don't care what she does, so long as she is a good person and she leaves the world better than she found it. Lastly, after reading the comments, I fear I painted Molly in a bad light. I should say that Molly has had a rough life due to the divorce between Bob and her biological mother. I have never met her mother, and I don't want to go into gross details on the internet about someone's life other than my own, but I will say that her relationship with her mom is not too great. I think Molly might be projecting aspects of that relationship onto me. However, your comments have helped me realize she is in the wrong in this situation. I've also realized that it isn't just on me to build a relationship with her. She has to work at it too, and so far, she is not. I'm never going to shut her out, but at this point, if she wants to connect with me, she has to be the one making the effort. I really hope the best for her, but she sure as heck isn't getting that dress. So I'm a fairly progressive person, I guess, but also I have a dark sense of humor. But I also respect traditional stuff, and, you know, I celebrate those as well. But I have a disdain for people who take these things too far. I don't like people who take traditional too far. Oh, you're a woman, so you have to do this and that. And I don't like people who take progressive too far. Oh, you're a woman, so you shouldn't do this and that.
They both suck and I hate them. And Molly is seemingly one of those people who takes the progressive thing too far. Yes, OP said that she kind of painted her in a bad light, but she didn't really paint her in a good light either. I'm not dunking on OP, but it just might be the case that there isn't much positive to say about her. Yes, she had a rough thing going on with the divorce and her mother, but ultimately, she is still rude to OP. Ultimately, she still insulted something that is important to OP, whether she knew that or not. But she said something rude and dismissive and walked out. She didn't want to have that relationship with her, so why should you get this important thing from a person that you don't really care about? Spoiler alert, you shouldn't. Same goes for wills. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be family. If your kids were horrible and didn't respect you, well, then maybe they don't deserve to be in the will. Maybe it's your nephew who was nice to you, your cousin, that kid down the block, I don't know. If you're rude to people, then you're probably not gonna get rewarded. I know, isn't that a crazy concept? Anyway, next story. Story number 5. Would I be the a-hole if I told my wife's dead husband's parents to stop coming to see our daughter? I have been married to my wife for about 2 years now, and we had a daughter a year ago. Now, my wife was married before, and she got married pretty young, but her husband died. I knew all of this and have been just fine with it, until now. See, she's still pretty close to her dead husband's parents, and they were excited for the birth of our child. FYI, they only had the one son, no other children at all. They have been coming over to our place about once a week. It was fine at first, but it's gotten kind of suffocating. They have visited us more times than either her parents or my parents. They have stayed over at our house at times, something I wouldn't even like if they were my own parents. Another thing is, they talk about their dead son, a lot, which is usually fine, but they have made some comments that make me uncomfortable. They even said my daughter kind of looks like him, and his mom even said, "Oh, if she's this cute, imagine how cute your kids would have been, if only," when talking to my wife. She was gonna say more, but I think she realized what she was about to say, and I was right there. I want to be amicable, and I know that there was gonna be some moments like this, but it's starting to make me feel uncomfortable. Then in the comment section, the consensus was that OP was not the a-hole. Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "Not the a-hole. They are clinging to you guys in the wake of losing their son, but there needs to be boundaries in place. It begins with a conversation with your wife and working in unison." What does she say? My wife thinks it's fine. She says that she sees them the same as her own parents. Then user 2 commented and said, "Has your wife had therapy for her loss?" Yes, she has. She still goes every now and then. Then OP elaborated on needing to leave if his wife's late husband's parents visit and said, "So, I have to leave my daughter in my home for a whole day every week? Yeah, no." And finally, OP replied to a comment on if he is jealous of his wife's first husband's parents visiting every week and said, "I'm not jealous of a dead guy. I'm annoyed that they're making comments as if my daughter is their son's child, or that my daughter would be cuter if she was. And also, it's suffocating to have them over so often. I want to relax in my own home and spend time with my wife and daughter alone." Then OP replied to a similar comment and said, "Well, first of all, they are not my parents. They're the parents of my wife's dead husband. And second of all, I don't want them to stay over because I want to relax in my own damn home. I haven't had a weekend without them in months." Update. So I had a talk with my wife about her parents, and like clockwork, they actually came this week too. I'm actually writing this after they left, and I had a talk with my wife. I told my wife that the frequency of these visits are becoming too much, and their comments are bothering me. My wife really didn't realize how the comments sounded until I explained them to her. I told her I don't mind them coming over every now and then, but I want to spend time with her and our daughter when I am not tired from work. She promised me she would talk to them and she would make sure they gave us our space, and that they would stop with the comments. She also apologized for not saying anything, and that while she still loves her dead husband, she loves me, and would never treat me as anything less than her husband and father of her daughter. So yeah, I think things turned out. Also, I got a vent on something that kept popping up. The child is my biological daughter. Some of you can't read. Now here are some more relevant comments. User 1 said, "Anyone else concerned that the people who keep visiting their dead son's widow and her child with another man weekly might not be terribly receptive to being talked to about boundaries and nuclear family time? They didn't get a chance to have grandchildren, and that is so sad, but it doesn't give them the right to disrupt OP's family time. OP, you need to discuss the actual frequency that you're comfortable with, blackout days and times, and what to do when they inevitably show up uninvited. Your wife needs to be comfortable telling them it's not a good time for a visit and turn them away." And finally, user 2 commented and said, "Good luck, OP. I sincerely hope the former in-laws are receptive to your reasonable and still very accommodating requests. It's absolutely not on that they were inadvertently establishing a dynamic in which you were some proxy donor and your daughter was near enough a surrogate for a life that unfortunately never substantiated for them.
New update. I'm writing this as me and my family came back from a small trip. So my wife and I had a talk with the parents and they apologized for intruding so much. And the wife apologized profusely for the comments on my daughter's appearance. They promised they would call us first before coming to visit, and they said they would give us more space. This was the first weekend in months that I had my wife and daughter all to myself. So I took some time off work and decided to take them to the beach. It was a fun mini vacation, and my daughter loved the sand and the water. I'm feeling a lot better about the whole situation, and I'm okay if the parents come by every now and then. I just want to spend some quality time with my wife and daughter. And finally, in the comments section, one user said,
"It sounds like you're in a much better place with the situation now. If you feel that you've established the boundaries you need and that the visits are manageable, it's okay to allow some flexibility in the future. However, it's important to continue communicating your needs and feelings clearly with your wife and her family to maintain a healthy balance."
And finally, user 2 commented and said,
"I'm so glad they took it well and recognized their overstepping. Even better that you were able to get away and enjoy some family time. Hopefully, they give you all some breathing room."
Fellow viewers, something is terribly wrong here. Where's the drama? No paternity tests, no contact. The wife didn't go, "Well, what's that supposed to mean?" The parents didn't go crazy mode. Nobody tried to manipulate the daughter. They just talked it out like adults. What's happening? No, but this is good. I did kind of think that there would be something dramatic here because like 9 out of 10 times there is something dramatic, but this is what you ideally want in real life. For it to just go over smoothly and people say, "Oh, I understand. Thank you for bringing that to me. How can we address this and go forward? Thank you for talking to me like an adult. There's a lump on your testicle. Can I help you with that?" This is how you talk to adults, okay? Anyway, next story. Story number 6. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband to choose his PlayStation over our marriage? I, 34F, have been with my husband, 41M, for 15 years and married for 11 years of those years. We have a 7-year-old daughter. We have sex maybe once a year since our daughter was born. I'm always the one that has to initiate any type of intimacy. When we do, it's hard to get him to stay up, and it's a lot of work on my end. He's seen a doctor, and there's no issue with labs, and he won't take the little blue pill because he says he doesn't need it and doesn't have an issue. My husband has always blamed our lack of intimacy on our daughter, since she sleeps in the bed with us. I'll try to get him to go in a different room, and there's always some excuse like he's too tired, but then he will go up to our game room and play his video games. Our daughter has slept in her own room for over 6 months now, and nothing has changed. His excuse is still, "Well, our daughter has slept in the bed with us all the time." My husband is a good person and a good dad. He works hard for his family. He works 60 hours a week, but besides paying the bills, that's the extent of it. He says he's tired and tells me I don't understand the stress of having to take care of the family financially. I work 40 hours a week, have a small business, make all of our appointments, do anything related to our daughter. I'm classroom mom, on PTO, and do all household chores. I do all laundry, cleaning, make meals, grocery shopping, take vehicles for oil changes, yard work. I mow and take care of 2.5 acres and take trash cans out. I do pay some of our bills, and I pay for all of our daughter's extracurricular activities, which definitely adds up. He just thinks my workload and contributions do not amount to what he does. This past week, I got on his phone because he saves reels on Facebook for me, normally funny stuff, and recipes that he wants me to try. I saw in his search history all of these sexier girls in groups that he's been looking at, which really pushed me over the edge. Here's the thing, I wouldn't be mad at him if he came to me for sex and I denied him sex. So I confronted him about it, and he says he doesn't look that stuff up, and I told him I'm not naive, and it's clear as day. The next day, he says yeah, he clicks on those girls' profiles in groups because he's a man and he likes to look. He's been locking himself in his game room recently while in there, and he's been sleeping in there too, and I know he's playing his PlayStation, and I guess now he also looks at all of these different profiles. I've seen lotion up there a long time ago while cleaning and had asked him about it, and he swears he's not jerking off, but I'm not stupid and naive. I really just hate being lied to. He says I'm a hypocrite because I watch adult content, but I wouldn't watch adult content and take care of my needs if he would be intimate with me.
It's also not like I'm going to a specific person or their profile when I do pull up a video. I've also been honest with him that I self-loving gate and watch adult content. I admit I'm a hypocrite, and I guess I'm just hurt because, to me, it feels that he's not attracted to me or just doesn't seem to want me. He says he doesn't really have a drive, and that's what I had thought, but after seeing what he clicks on, I feel like he just doesn't have a drive towards me. Looks-wise, people tell him he definitely leveled up. Overall, I take care of myself and put effort into my looks. I'm definitely not the hottest or most beautiful, but I'm not bad looking. He's overweight, short, and balding. Why do I feel like now I don't look good enough for him or excite him enough to be with? I told him I want him to get rid of all the gaming stuff and to not be locked upstairs and spend more time with me and our family, or it's time for us to get a divorce. He said he's not giving up his gaming stuff and doesn't see how that's the problem. He told me that I'm going to ruin our family because all I want is sex. But I'm just tired of begging. I feel I shouldn't be begging for intimacy, affection, and him being present with his family. I do so much for everyone, and I'm tired of not getting anything in return. I'm tired of putting my wants and needs last. I'm tired of begging him to hang out with us and do family stuff. The only thing that excites him is to go upstairs in the game room and play his video games, and I guess now I know he likes to do other stuff as well. We've done the counseling stuff here and there, and it gets better for a little while, but then goes back to normal. So, am I the a-hole and a hypocrite? Am I in the wrong in taking things too far? Edit. To add about our child sleeping in bed with us, we both allowed her to sleep in bed with us, and I had tried to boot her out to her own room sooner, but my husband kept saying she wasn't ready. She would cry, and it was a lot of work and bribery to get her into her own room. Edit number 2. There's definitely two sides to every story, and you're just getting mine. We both have different love languages. Mine is affection and physical touch, and his is acts of service. He likes a clean and tidy house, and I do my best to keep up with everything home-wise. I tried talking to him about what makes me happy and what I want, but he's not listening to me. I feel like a spoiled brat at times because yes, he provides financially well for us, and I don't go without. It just sucks. I want to be seen again. We used to be such a team, and now it's a pissing contest of who does what. My husband really isn't a bad person or dad. Our daughter is definitely a daddy's girl though, mostly because I'm the disciplinary parent that makes sure that she has to brush her teeth and goes to school and does her work, etc. On our days off together, he'll do a few things with us and then say he needs to get some rest, but then he goes upstairs and plays video games. He really does work too much. He says he works so much because he wants to make sure that we're taken care of if anything happens to him, which his dad was never there and his mom did struggle when he grew up. Then in the comments section, the consensus was that OP was not the a-hole. Then OP replied to one commenter and said, "Your comment really stuck out. Sometimes I do get to the point of frustration because I wish he'd just see what needs to be done without me having to nag him. Every year I ask if he can put Christmas lights up, and he doesn't do it until I finally snap at him. Christmas lights make me and our daughter happy, and he knows it. So why do I need to ask him to do it every single year? My birthday is around Christmas, and he doesn't do anything thoughtful. He says it's because he's working and didn't have time to get anything, but he can make time to game and order stuff for his games on Amazon. I tell him to make a cake with our daughter and have her make a card. Take her to Walmart and let her pick something out for me. I want him to show my daughter that I matter. I'm sure you saw the TikTok about the wife's stocking not having anything in it, and that's another thing I have to tell him to find the time to do for me with our daughter. I just want him to make time and me not to have to nag him. I think I'm just tired too. I know gaming is his relaxing and winding down time, but he's not understanding prioritizing his family should be first. Update. I am overwhelmed by the responses from my first post, and I appreciate the feedback. I wasn't expecting to write an update this soon, or even at all. Yesterday, I messaged my husband the following message. Why should we stay together just for our daughter? What do you love about me besides being a good mother and wife? What do you like about me? What are things you want from our relationship that you're not getting besides financial? What do you think I contribute to our relationship? Do you really not want sex or physical relationship? And do you think that's not an issue? I need a physical and intimate relationship. That's something that's important to me. It's more than just sex. Am I not attractive to you? Do you not desire me? Please be honest. Why do you hide the fact that you self-love and gate? Why can't you see why I'm upset and that my feelings are valid? You think I'm upset over nothing. I feel you take my words as if they are water being poured into a cooler. You hold no value to what I say. Why can't you see my pain? You think this is easy on me? Have I thrown too many empty threats to you that you don't take this and what I say seriously? Where can we go from here? Can we work it out? Sometimes my issue is that you can't be honest with me that there is an issue. I hate when you don't take accountability and place blame elsewhere elsewhere. We're adults, we make mistakes, and we should take accountability for what we say and do. I know I'm not who I was, and I don't love who I am right now. I don't like nagging, yelling, and begging you for help, attention, and affection. I'll go get a better paying job and help with finances if we decide to move forward. In return, you'll have to help more with our family. Help worry about finding a sitter for our daughter who's picking her up from school. You need to help and call out when she's sick, take off for field trips, help make her lunches, take her to extracurriculars, and help more with daily tasks.
And he never responded. Instead, I saw where he played over 3 hours on his PlayStation, and to me, that speaks volumes. That story really resonated with me, and it hits close to home. I guess I'm at the point where I don't want a roommate anymore. I just want a partner that cares and can see the value I bring to our relationship and our family. Many of the original post responses talked about how I just want sex, and that's not really it. I want intimacy and a yearning to feel loved and longed for. I want our relationship to be where we are as a team again, and it no longer feels like a pissing contest of who does what. I guess we're past that point of working things out. Now, my concern is how to make this an easy transition for my daughter. I will continue to put a smile on my face and hold back my pain, because as a parent, how she feels and what she sees comes first. I don't want her to feel blame or to be sad. I know it won't be easy, but thank you, strangers, for your advice when even some of it stung a little bit. As I've said, I know it's hard to have an opinion when you're only getting one side. I'm not an angel in any of this, and I take accountability for my parts for the ending of this chapter. I guess it's time to move on. Then in the comments section, OP replied to one user and said, I appreciate your message and your perspective, I really do. When he gets home, he says how tired he is and bolts it upstairs to the game room to sleep before we even get a hello in. And then I hear him on his game up there. I tell him and I tell our daughter how thankful I am for how he provides for his family. I've helped him lose weight, and I've told him how good he's looking and how proud I am that he's lost weight, even though he's getting the results by medication. I make sure the house is nice and tidy before he gets home. I pack his work bag, clean his clothes, make his lunches, and buy his snacks. What I get in return is most of our bills paid by him and nothing more, unless I ask him several times to do something. When I ask him to go to a family event, he says he's tired and doesn't want to go. When he goes, he complains the whole time about how tired he is. He can't just do what I do and just put a smile on his face. I think I don't have any more to give. I got to this point and asked him to make a sacrifice for me, and his response was no response. But instead, he played 3 hours on his game. When do I deserve to get some extra effort from our marriage? Then user 1 commented and said,
I can totally empathize. It sounds like he's not even open or appreciative to the kind things that you're trying to do for him. Well then, the only other thing I could think of is trying to get him to open up as to what's making him unhappy to where he needs to escape to his games every waking moment. Put the onus on him to explain that what he feels he is not getting that causes him to game nonstop. When I gamed, I would still make time for my family, and it sounds like he won't. You may have already made up your mind, but if you're still on the fence, pushing aside your hurt and concerns temporarily and finding out from his perspective why he is checking out in gaming might give you some insight. I'm guessing he wasn't always this way? Something seems to be fundamentally not working. Couples therapy could help a lot, but therapists are not that great. Not sure if it's an option, but maybe a separation or leaving for a few weeks could make him wake up. Bearing that, if you do go through a divorce, I wish you the best of luck. They are not fun.
This was his response to me a day later. He said to me, if I don't make you happy, then I don't want to force something that's not going to make you happy. I'm fine with what you want to do. I do love you, and I shouldn't have to prove that after being together for 14 years. We can go our own ways. I will financially support you and our daughter to the best of my ability, and I only have a few requests. That wherever you decide to move, please stay within 30 miles of each other so I can see our daughter and I can help better. I can pay your mortgage on a $250K house if you put $100K down, and will of course pay whatever Landry needs. When we sell the house, I want $100K and you can have everything else. I need you to pay the Tesla off. I owe $33K. We need to at least get $600K for our home, if not more. And I hate that it's coming down to this, but I will help you achieve happiness as long as we can agree on some terms with our child and our finances. New update. 7 months later. Hey, fellow Redditors. Sorry to ghost you guys for a bit. I'm honestly not exactly sure where I left off at, but here are the most recent updates. After my second post, I had found some thyroid nodules, and thankfully they are non-cancerous, but I will still need to have a procedure to have them shrunk. My husband found out about them and was upset, and I did not tell him what I was going through medically. After that, we spoke again about if he asked if we could reconcile, and we did our best to address our concerns, and we've been trying to work on things. He no longer plays his PlayStation, watches adult content, or stays upstairs in our game room. I started working more and contributing more financially, especially with all of the extra medical costs from all the labs, testing, and needing to save for the cost of the procedure. Since I work more, he has been helping out with household duties and being a present parent. We are working on things, actually having sex, working on our health, and communicating more. After my possible cancer scare, I realized life is just too short to not enjoy it. I told him I am no longer giving energy to argue, be angry, and be around people that are more negative than positive in my life. He knows if we aren't going on the same path, then I'm not going to stay in our marriage. Like many said, it's not healthy for our daughter to be with parents who stay together just for the sake of our child. He's finally listened to me, and he started going to the doctors, and he's on a CPAP for sleep apnea, lost 60 pounds and taking cholesterol medication. He now overall seems to be in a better mood. He told me he didn't really realize how long he would stay up watching the PlayStation, and how that affected his sleep as well, and has apologized for being so blind. I can tell he's trying and is making efforts to be more involved and present as a husband and father. He is also taking lots more initiative in our relationship. He initiates sex and is actually back to foreplay, and I feel like we have true intimacy again. I really think with the amount of self-loving gating he had, the death grip syndrome, and that's why he had a hard time keeping an erection, which was ultimately leading to the dead bedroom. The bedroom is fun again now, and I feel like we are how we were before having a kid. We've started doing a lot of things together, like watching our weekly shows, having date nights, and we even took a week-long trip with just the two of us, and we had a great time. I'm not saying everything is perfect, because we have our days, but we are on a very good path. I don't believe in throwing away something broken until I've given my all to repair it. It's so easy to just throw something away and start over with something new. But marriage is teamwork, and both partners have to be willing to put in equal parts of effort to make it last. I hate that it took the big wake-up calls to get here, but I'm glad where we're at now. So, real quick, I have never heard the term self-loving gate in my life. I looked it up on Bing, and then I even looked it up on Google, and I didn't see anything. I'm assuming, though, she's referring to him pleasuring himself because she said he had that death grip syndrome. Fellas, you don't want that. But as for the story, I mean, I think OP summed it up perfectly that she's not going to throw away something unless she's given it her all. It seems like she was weary after that second update, or after that first update. Seems like she was on the edge, but, you know, she stuck with it. And it's unfortunate that it had to be a cancer health scare to get her and the hubby this far, but at least they're at where they're at now, and she's happy with that, and that's what really matters. So good for them, and he finally snapped out of it, and he lost some weight, so good for him. Anyway, next story. Story number 7. Am I the a-hole for siding with my wife over my daughter? I am 50M and I have 2 children. This isn't my first time my wife, 49F, and my daughter, 17F, have disagreed. Throughout the years, my daughter has done numerous things simply to avoid her mother, from staying late at school and developing a habit of eating fast and quick so she wouldn't have to wait long at the dinner table, to the point where she can no longer enjoy her food and focuses more on getting away and answering both of me and my wife's questions with either, I don't know, or not sure. She's also a frequent liar and would risk getting a beating rather than admit the truth because whenever her mother would argue with her, my wife makes it a habit of pointing out every mistake my daughter has ever done, from low grades to the friends she makes in school. Today, however, my wife ended up bursting into tears, and my daughter has been invited to an extravagant birthday party for one of her closest friends. This doesn't happen very often, and my daughter is a very introverted person, so we're very happy for her. They've been arguing over this dress that she's supposed to wear. The dress code is semi-formal, and my wife wants to take it to the tailor to make small, with inch-long slits at the hem, and my daughter doesn't think it's necessary and thinks it looks fine. Now her mother is also insisting for her to wear earrings, and my daughter declines, saying she'd look great even without them. My wife ends up crying and bans her from going to the party, and my wife starts to point out that she's the type of person who thinks everything is done to her bidding. My daughter is shocked and turns to me, but I side with her mother.
What's wrong with a few alterations? The dress is okay, but it could be better, and now my daughter has been stone-faced all day. I speak to my relatives and friends about this, and they've berated me for worrying over such small things and that she deserves to go to the party. However, I think my daughter should learn how to humble down herself. If my wife thinks she shouldn't go to the party, then so be it. But I've yet to decide. So, am I the a-hole? Update. It's been a week or so since I50M posted about my daughter 17F being unable to go to the party because her mom banned her. It's gotten worse and I'm not sure what to do. Since her refusal, my daughter has become even more quiet and unresponsive, and she's entirely locked herself up in her bedroom and has been cooped up behind her locked door, only coming out whenever it is mealtime or needing to go to the bathroom. Without my knowledge, I woke up to the door of our daughter's room gone, missing. My wife apparently had removed it, saying she could only get her door back if she learned how to respect decisions and that she didn't earn her privacy. I was appalled, and while I thought it was frustrating for her to lock her door or hide everything from us, I did not think my wife would actually remove it. Our daughter simply just stared back at us, looking defeated and broken without even crying. Since then, she and her brother 13M have mastered speaking Korean from the alphabet to every term of the language known, so that neither I nor her mom could know what they were talking about. My relatives and friends are all disappointed in us and expect us to apologize. How do I address this issue without making a mess of things than they already are? Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "Give her the door back for Christ's sake. Also, your wife seems a little controlling." She's still mad at me for not taking sides. I've been debating putting the doors back myself. Then user 2 commented and said, "First thing to do, grow some effing balls. Put the door back." Then user 3 replied and said, "Use those freshly grown balls to actually talk with your wife so you both can come to terms with how fundamentally bad you are at parenting." And finally, user 4 commented and said, "Do better. And your kids learned how to speak Korean in a week?" I'm still finding the screw to put the door back on. Maybe I'll add the locks back in too. And I may be wrong about them mastering it, of course, but the kids speaking full Korean really frustrates me. It might be the same phrases over and over again, but they can still form full words in it. They've also written down a lot of terms in the alphabet on paper, but since I'm in no position to do so, I don't translate anything online. Update number 2. Yes, I've already reinstalled the door, and now my wife is no longer speaking to me, which I will endure for the moment. I've spoken to my daughter per all of your suggestions, and it took quite a while to get anything out of her, given she's always been one to make up stories, and her excuse this time was that, "What's the point of telling you anything if you're just going to say everything to mom?" She then complains that her mom has been a real pain lately, and she'd sometimes catch her mom looking through her phone and reading text messages between her and her boyfriend. She's also complaining to me that her mom attempts to guilt trip her by getting Bible verses and scriptures, such as the 10 Commandments, involved during their arguments, which is where I will have to draw the line. We are very religious, Christian, and it's partly the reason why therapy or consultation is a no-go for us. I try to explain to her that whatever she opens up to me, she should open up to her mother as well, because she is the bigger parent between us, and that she's the only person to guide her in life, not me. However, I've regretted telling her so. As I went to bed the same night, I could hear hysterical, heartbroken crying and sniffles from her bedroom, and she'd woken up with a soggy shirt and puffy eyes. I don't think I'd be talking to either her or my wife on this matter anytime soon. Then in the comments section, one user said, "Dude, protect your daughter from your wife. She clearly doesn't feel safe, protected, or loved. You say she's always making things up. Why do you say that? Where's your proof? Your wife is acting like a monster. She's lied about test scores and her exams and even her grades. I'm not just sure if I could trust her anymore, given that she says she's studying, but she still gets the most average scores on her schoolwork." Okay, so guys, I've read a lot of stories. You've heard a lot of stories, but I have never seen a story where the parents were so bad at what they did, their kids learned another language in order to feel safe. What needs to happen next is that you call CPS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, half dozen times, and then they'll do something. Apparently that's how CPS works, as I've learned recently, but I mean, oh my god, they don't, the whole thing's a mess. This girl is on a straight path to no contactville and will probably suffer the mental and emotional consequences of this for years, possibly decades to come because, wow, they're so bad. I wish we could have only read more comments roasting OP because he's just so bad and his wife is so worse and just, oh god. Anyway, next story. Story number 8.
Will I be the a-hole for secretly recording my dad's girlfriend? I am M20, and I was a former foster kid. I was never adopted before I aged out, but I was placed with Joe when I was 10, and we were long-term matched by the time I was 14. Joe's the only real family I've ever had, and I consider him my dad, even though the whole adoption thing never happened. When I first moved in with Joe, he was married, but his wife passed away suddenly when I was 12. That was tough on the both of us, but we managed to get through it together. Now Joe's been dating his current girlfriend, Sarah, for about 2 years. She didn't come over much, and when she did, it was pretty brief, but 3 weeks ago she moved into our house because she lost her job and couldn't afford rent anymore. Now, I don't know if she was always like this, or if moving in has brought out a different side of her, but Sarah has been acting really strange. Whenever Joe isn't around, she completely ignores me. Like, won't even look at me when I speak, won't answer questions, nothing. At first, I thought it might be some kind of anxiety thing, but now it started getting worse. For example, when Joe's at work and I'm in the lounge watching a movie, she'll come in and start blasting TikToks on her phone or playing music, totally disregarding the fact that I'm there. When I ask her to turn it down, she just flat out ignores me. And it's not just the ignoring that's the problem. She's started saying some pretty nasty stuff about me too. She's FaceTimed her friend while I was in the room and talked about how lazy I am and how I don't contribute anything to the household. Yesterday, I was sitting on the sofa watching the new Deadpool movie when she came and sat across from me, FaceTiming her friend again. She started talking about how she and Joe are trying for a baby and how excited they are because neither of them have had children before. Those exact words. It felt like a slap in the face. I know Joe wouldn't have said something like that because he considers me his son, so either she's making it up or I don't even know what. I haven't told Joe about the things she's been saying to her friend because I don't want to mess up his first real relationship since his wife died, but this situation is seriously eating me up inside. I mentioned the situation to a few people and a couple of them suggested that I secretly record her behavior when Joe isn't around, so that he can see what's really going on. It seemed like a good idea at first, but when I talked to one of my close friends about it, he said that secretly recording her could just make things worse. He thinks it might make Joe feel like I'm going behind his back and could even cause more tension, especially if Sarah twists it to make me look bad. So, will I be the a-hole if I secretly record her to show Joe what she's really like? Or should I just avoid it altogether? I don't want to seem like I'm trying to sabotage his relationship, but I'm not sure what else to do. Now, here are some relevant comments. User 1 said,
You need to talk to Joe. You can record it in case he doesn't believe you, but you need to talk to him ASAP. And you might also have to work on your exit plan in case it backfires, which it can. People in love do strange things at times. So many parents kick out kids when a new relationship forms and the kid doesn't get on board with the new spouse. Don't be blindsided by something that is a huge possibility. You are an adult. Joe's girlfriend could have the very easy argument that you're an adult and need to move out so they can work on furthering their relationship. Having a child together would absolutely be a reason he would side with her, not the a-hole. Out of curiosity, you have only explained that you lounge and watch TV. Are you contributing to the household in any way? If Joe's girlfriend is contributing to the house, I could see why she would have an issue floating with you.
Well, I'm still at college. Americans would call this high school, but it's summer. As foster care leaver, Joe is paid $300 per week by the government to support me until I finish this, and will carry on until I finish university or until I'm 25, whichever is first. I also get universal credit, which I use for most of my expenses. High school usually ends at 18 here, but I've had to redo some learnings that I missed. Then user 3 commented and said,
Get your ass off the couch and contribute to the home. It seems to me you are too stupid to realize that he will pick his girlfriend/bedmate over a 20-year-old taking up some space and pissing off his hot girlfriend. You don't realize it, but unless you start contributing, your days are numbered. So you're off to school for the summer. Why don't you have a job to go to every day instead of sitting your ass on the couch? Who hurt you?
Then user 3 commented and said,
It's time to fly out of the nest, find a job and or college, and build your own life. You are an adult young male with lots of opportunities.
Then user 4 commented and said,
This young man didn't have a stable home until he was 10. He went through a traumatic childhood and his life's trajectory is not the same as most people's. So developmentally, it may be important for him to take a longer time to feel safe and confident. Hell, he's still finishing his secondary education due to those complications. friends, and you have literally no idea what opportunities he does or doesn't have. As long as his father is happy to have him there, who are you to tell him he needs to leave home? What a crappy, presumptuous thing to say.
And finally, user 5 commented and said,
Going to school isn't contributing to the household. Doing chores, taking out the trash, preparing dinner, doing laundry, sweeping the floors, vacuuming, doing repairs around the house are contributing. Contributing is the sustainment of your family's home and health of it, so it doesn't burden others. That's responsibility. If she finds herself or Joe doing all of this, then I would be annoyed as well. You're an adult, and as an adult, you should be contributing without being told the responsibilities of maintaining the home. I would say getting a job as well at your age. Many folks go to school and have a part-time job, but if that's not the case, you can help around the house. I guarantee if you're doing those things, Joe, and possibly her, will have a different positive opinion of you.
Update. I decided to talk to Joe directly instead of secretly recording Sarah. I thought it would be more mature, sensible, and non-confrontational to handle things face-to-face. My mindset was that if he didn't take it seriously, then I'd consider recording to show him what was really going on. When Joe got home from work, I asked him to talk privately in my room. He seemed a bit confused at first, but I made it clear that I wasn't trying to sabotage his relationship. I just needed to tell him that something Sarah was doing was making me uncomfortable. I reminded him about how she ignores me and mentioned how she plays videos while I'm watching TV. But when I told him she said that he didn't have any children and that they were trying for a baby, he looked really upset. It felt a bit awkward, but Joe called Sarah into the room to talk with us. He asked her if what I said was true, and she immediately denied it. You could see from her body language that she was lying. I'm not sure if she just never expected me to say anything about how she's been treating me or what, but Joe firmly told her that this is my house, not hers, and that while she's a guest here, she can't be disrespecting me. Things got a little heated, and in the end, she apologized to me. Though it was through gritted teeth, I accepted the apology, even though I'm not sure it was genuine. After that, Joe asked if I was still comfortable with her staying with us. I said I was because I didn't want to break them up. I just wanted to tell him what was happening. However, she decided to stay at her friend's house for the night, which made the situation feel even more tense. I can tell Joe is really upset now, and I feel super guilty for making him feel this way. He insists it's not my fault, and we ended up having kebabs for tea. But even so, I can't shake the feeling that I've caused a huge fight between them. Joe went to bed early, and now I'm stuck feeling bad about the whole situation. I just hope that whatever happens next, things will settle down. You know, just once in my life, I want to decline an apology, even though I know I'm not strong enough to do it. Just once, I want to be like, I don't accept your apology. It's fake, inauthentic, insincere, and I hate your face. But I can't do it. I'm not strong enough. But as for this story, I felt like some of those comments were going a little harsh on OP. I think one of them painted the situation quite clearly that, you know, he went through growing up differently. He developed differently. He's kind of behind on the 8 ball, naturally speaking, due to his situation. And the fact that he's still in high school is proof of that. Like, it's like all the comments were saying, hey, get off the couch and do something, jerk, but also not addressing the woman being rude to him. They were just so hyper-focused on him for some reason. I do think that you should contribute to the house, you know, with chores and dishes and stuff like that. You don't necessarily need to get a job when in school. It's a common thing, but I think you should help around the house. That's not a foreign concept. That's not a crazy thing to ask. But what, you know, you should always ask for is decent human respect, and Sarah was not giving that. So maybe we'll get an update down the line. I don't know, but right now it's not looking the best for Sarah. So anyway, next story. Story number 9. I, 26F, found out that my husband, 27M, has been keeping a secret box of mementos on the top shelf of our closet, and I don't know what to do about it or if I should even bring it up. I honestly don't know how the hell I'm supposed to talk about this. I am genuinely in disbelief. So, backstory. My husband, let's call him Lee, and I have been together since our sophomore year in high school. We were each other's first everythings, and for the most part, I feel like we honestly have a picturesque marriage. I'm currently 5 months pregnant with our first child, and have taken it upon myself to DIY the guest bedroom into a nursery. But to do that, I wanted to sort through the stuff in there and get rid of anything unnecessary. I think it's relevant to say that I'm pretty short, 5'2", so I don't really store things up high since I can't reach. But my husband's a foot taller than me, so he doesn't have this tendency, which is how I found the memento box on the top shelf. It was just a plain cardboard box, so I didn't think much of it at first, but since I didn't remember putting it up there, I wanted to see if it was something that needed to go into storage or if it was just junk. I don't know what I was expecting, but inside the box there was a photo album, a trash bag, and a black leather bag. The album just had my name plus Lee's written on the cover, so I thought it would be something sweet because Lee has a tendency to gift me sentimental things, but no. The album was full of nude pictures of myself, all of them marked with dates and a short journal entry. The first one was from our first time from when we were teens, and the latest one was marked from the night I surprised him with my pregnancy announcement. Most of the pictures are poor quality, but some are clearly of me sleeping after the deed. These journal entries talk about how he ranks each experience and his favorite part of it, like some weird logbook. Inside the bags were some of my lingerie and even some old razors and hairbrushes. I don't know why on earth he keeps them, but he has 2 bags full. I don't know how or what to do. I mean, is this normal behavior? Is this some twisted form of romance on his part? A part of me feels like I shouldn't feel as disgusted as I am, but this violates my own boundaries since I explicitly told him in the past that I was against sending or giving him any nude photos. Reddit, what do I do? I love my husband, but I'm not sure how to confront him about this. Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said,
No, this is not normal at all. This is also not romantic at all. The fact that he took pictures of you sleeping and has them in an album is incredibly concerning. Him ranking the times that y'all have had sex is setting off more red flags. This is creepy and inappropriate behavior. I can't imagine my fiance taking pictures of me sleeping, let alone him keeping a log of our sex life. Girl, you have to show him the box and demand answers, and don't go easy on him. None of this is okay or normal, and you should really be concerned as to why he thinks any of that is okay.
Then user 2 commented and said,
Taking creepy pictures of you as you sleep naked, and having naked photos of you as a minor in general, and then rating every sexual experience with you is not normal at all. The lingerie too and the razors and hairbrushes make it even creepier. This is creepy, obsessed stalker crap.
And finally, user 3 commented and said,
What in the Joe Goldberg is going on here?
Update, 5 months later. So I'm not sure if anyone cares, and while I didn't reply to any of the comments, I did end up talking with my husband about this just a few days ago. I'm not going to lie, I wanted to just act like I didn't see anything and go on with my happy life, but after giving birth to my baby girl about a month and a half ago, I guess the stress and everything added up, and I let it slip in an argument. I don't remember all that was said, but I was exhausted, and my husband, while he's been super helpful and took over the household chores for me and helps out with our baby girl, had just been getting on my nerves. I sort of exploded on him in a way that I'm not proud of. Worst of all, he wasn't even doing anything. All he had been doing was reminiscing about how I used to make a Sims family of us when I was in university and how creepy it was. He said it endearingly, and I don't really know why I got so mad. But I basically said something along the lines of how he's the creepy one because he has a secret stash of stuff hidden from me. I felt really bad because he got all pale and went quiet, and then he sort of said he needed space and went to blow off some steam at the shooting range, which he does a lot of when he needs to think, so I didn't question it. He came back home around dinner and said he was ready to talk. I asked him about all of the things I found, especially the photos. I reminded him again that I never agreed to making nudes of any sort, and he apologized and agreed to burn them. Apparently, our history goes back further than even I knew, as he recounted that we actually met before high school. I had no idea, but his mom, who's a divorce attorney, was the very same one my mom used when she separated from her first husband, not my dad. I called my mom after to confirm, and she told me it was true, but her and my mother-in-law never told me because my mom's divorce was messy and she hates talking about it. Anyways, back to the first meeting thing. My mother-in-law at the time often had Lee hang out around her office after school, and it was during one of these days that my mom had to take me with her to speak with mother-in-law in person. Lee was actually the boy that I played with in the waiting room? I can't believe he remembered that, because I totally forgot. So according to him, that first meeting was the day he knew I was special. Lee told me that while he had tried to pass it off as a crush, as he got older, it never really went away, which led him to look into his mom's case files. In my state, attorneys have to keep them for 7 years, and he found my mom on Facebook, then my dad in her friends list, and managed to find my first and last name in order to find my Instagram. He had convinced his parents to let him transfer from his private K-12 school to my public high school, using the excuse that they had a better athletics program, which isn't actually far-fetched since my high school was one of the best in the state for that. All of this because he found out where I was going, thanks to my dumb self putting it in my bio, and I thought that us meeting was a sheer coincidence
coincidence and that we fell in love naturally, a classic sort of high school sweethearts. But no, Lee had orchestrated it all. I took my daughter with me to stay with my mom and stepdad, while Lee agreed to stay home and let me think. I spoke to my mom as well as mother-in-law and father-in-law. Lee's parents are not happy with him in all honesty, and mother-in-law is especially mad because of client confidentiality. My mom gave some good advice to me and said that I should reflect on if Lee had displayed any other red flag behaviors. I can honestly say, no, he hasn't. But since I know I'm biased, I asked my friends and those close to me if they noticed anything. So far, everything else about Lee seems to check out. I've never felt endangered by him, even when I told him I needed some distance for a few days. I want to make this marriage work, Reddit, but is this something that therapy can fix? Then OP replied to one user in the comments section and said, "Hi, this is really late for a reply. I'm sorry about that. I wasn't ready to acknowledge it for a long time. Lee told me he didn't mean anything by it and wanted to just have a keepsake collection of some memorable moments that we shared. But he did acknowledge that he knew it was wrong and apologized, and he promised me he'd get rid of the pictures by burning them." Small update. Lee and I have since been going to couples counseling, and he's going to individual therapy. After the whole drama that happened a few months ago, he sort of had a come to Christ moment, where he realized that the way he had been obsessing over the idea of me wasn't the same as a healthy love. We spent a few weeks apart so he could work on himself, and he turned over his devices, passwords, and accounts to me so that I could go through and calm my worries, because I was really anxious about the explicit photos. Since then, we're back in our house and with our baby girl, and our marriage is back on track and better for it. So I'm curious, I got a question for y'all. If you were in OP's shoes here, how would you feel? The fact that your spouse essentially orchestrated all of this and was like, had this long-term plan to get with you, but also at the same time doesn't have any really other red flags. Has that creepy book, but no other red flags from other people that you trust. Like, how would you feel? Because in a way, ultimately, OP still made the choice of wanting to be with him, but I don't know how I would feel. I would feel weird about it. I guess that's what the couples counseling is for, but like, I don't know. But at the same time, isn't every relationship coming with a plan beforehand with you thinking, oh, I want to date that person. I want to marry that person. But it's like really long-term storytelling. I don't know how I would feel about that. I guess that's what the couples counseling is for, but I would feel a little icky. Like I've been poached. I think that's a good way of putting it. I wouldn't want a divorce right away, but it would just, it's weird. It would be a weird feeling for me. But anyway, what do you guys think? Next story. Story number 10. My best friend died, and I went from being child-free to having a teenager. I had posted a few times before on Reddit about my fiance and I, about not wanting kids, our engagement, the love we have for each other. For the most part, my posts have had happy endings, but this one just isn't really a happy one. Soon after my engagement, my best friend since elementary school and his wife passed away in a car accident, leaving behind their 11-year-old daughter, Amy. Amy is my goddaughter, but we do refer to each other as niece and Tia. I've been there for her my whole life, and she has always been one of my favorite people, and still is. It's been a really hard several months since the accident, and everyone is having a tough time of it. I've spent most of my life with my best friend in it, then without him. Our parents are best friends due to us being friends at first, and I refer to his mom as Mama, followed by their last name, and Papa, followed by their last name, and he did the same with my parents. My siblings were his siblings. He was an only child, and we went to events and concerts together a lot. So multiple times since he's passed away, I've subconsciously bought him a ticket, forgetting that he wouldn't be able to use it. I introduced him to his wife in high school. We were the only two openly nerdy cheerleaders at our school, and they got pregnant young, and I was there to help, and I even went so far as to stop eating foods she couldn't eat because I can tell being pregnant was not fun for her. I was at the hospital because she was scared and asked me to be close by. I was the first non-blood family member to see Amy. I say all of this because him and his family are indeed my family. So them passing away was a huge hit for everyone, especially for Amy. Now, the month when it happened, Amy went to stay with her grandparents. Luckily, we all stay in the same big city, so the farthest any one of the family is from the other is an hour at most, and that's mainly due to traffic. The issue, though, is that her grandparents are much older, in their 70s compared to my parents' 50s, so while they very much do love her, they are already at that point where they themselves need help. Plus, they just lost their only son and daughter-in-law. Amy's mom's parents are out of state, and they also didn't believe moving her to them and away from everyone she knows was the right thing either. So after talking to my fiance about it as well, and talking about it in therapy, which included me, my fiance, and both our therapists, We came to the conclusion that we would be happy to take her in, since we are financially capable, have the space, and we do also just love her so much. Before the accident, she was realistically at our house at least 3 times a week. She's the reason why I even have an art room, since it was an activity we always did together. Even at 11, she's a fantastic artist. When we approached her grandparents, they were completely on board with the idea, and I do think that a part of them had hoped we would take her in without them asking us directly, hence the comment to my parents. However, when we had broached the idea to Amy, she was hesitant. It turns out that she was aware that I never wanted kids and is afraid that I will hate her for having to raise her. 100% broke my heart that she felt that way, and I tried everything to convince her that was wrong. In the end, I told her the truth, that I will never be able to replace her mom or her dad, and I have no plans to. Her parents made me her godmother because they knew I would love and care for Amy the way they loved and cared for her. I could never hate her. My fiance even pointed out that I was the one who had the idea to foster her, but I also had to stress to her that this is a new situation for all of us. We are all grieving together, and we are all jumping into this new living situation together. So there will be mistakes, but there will also be a lot of love. We also put her in therapy, which she has been very hesitant about, but after finding out that my fiance and I are both regularly in therapy, she felt a lot more comfortable. My fiance has been great through all of this and my absolute rock. He was also very close to my best friend. My best friend was going to be his groomsman and was the second person my fiance asked after he asked his brother to be the best man. My best friend was the type of person who will see something and say, "This looks like something so-and-so would like, so I'm going to buy it for them." So some days I will catch my fiance staring at one of those many gifts for a long time. Or he will say something like, "I hope they knew how much I loved them." And we hold each other much tighter now when we hug and kiss for longer than we have before. When I asked him about Amy living with us, my fiance was shocked and wasn't sure how he felt since change was happening lightning fast with the engagement, then the accident, and now with Amy. So I didn't bring it up again until he did a week later, and he said to me, "I thought about it and I think it would be good for all of us. But let's get our therapists together to make sure that we aren't jumping the gun because we love her." And Amy moved in right after Thanksgiving. All the families got together for the holidays with her to remind her that she is never alone. She has her mom's family, out of state, but they call often, her dad's family, my fiance's family, out of the country too, minus my fiance's brother and his wife, and let's not forget all of our friends and their families. There was a lot of crying, but a lot of laughing too. Her living with us is a huge adjustment, but nothing we can't handle. She has always been a sweet girl and very bubbly and loud. Since the accident, she obviously has been a lot more withdrawn and quiet, but I am seeing sparks of herself come back briefly and slowly. We had to switch her therapist a few times, but this current one is helping a lot, definitely. Amy really likes her too. Her grades did slip a bit, but my fiance has made it a point to do her homework with her every day, and it made her cry the first few times he did it. He asked her if she wanted him to stop, but it turns out that it just reminded her of her dad, so it really meant a lot to her that Tio was so willing to help her too. I was expecting some rebelling, but that hasn't happened yet, and actually, she has been doing the absolute most. She would clean up after us before we had a chance to do it ourselves, or try to do things for us that seemed a little out of character. After some prodding, it turns out it was because she is afraid we would get rid of her if she upset us or did something wrong. We have stressed to her that in no way has that ever crossed our minds. We are here for her, and unless she wants nothing to do with us, we will continue to be here for her through the good and bad. But let me tell you, I cried so much that night, feeling terrible that she felt that way. I want her to know that our love is unconditional, and it always has been. We are also in the process of setting up a trust for her. Her parents left behind money, and there is money coming in from their insurance policies too, so all of that is going in that trust for her. I will also help supplement this trust, plus my fiance, even though I stressed that he doesn't need to. Neither myself or my fiance will touch this trust. When she turns 18, she will have access to use the money for college if she decides to go, and a set amount will be available every month to live on. If she decides not to go, then she will still have access to a set amount every month. Side note, we would prefer she go to college, and will encourage it, but her dad didn't go to college and did well as an artist, and we see that she has his talents, so we just want to be supportive of any decision she makes. When she turns 21, she will have access to the full trust to use as she wishes, but we will do our best to ensure she is responsible with it when the time comes. At the end of the day, she will be an adult, and we have to trust that she will be responsible when she has access to the money. I also want to say we didn't come to this decision on our own. We consulted with all 4 sets of grandparents, and this was what we all thought was the best approach, as well as help from a lawyer. When Amy is a little older, we will discuss this with her, but for now, she's still so young and dealing with a lot. Some nights I sleep with her in my bed. My fiance will sleep on the floor by the bed because she cries herself to sleep and she feels so alone. I don't know if that feeling will go away anytime soon. I think about how I'm in my 30s and I still can't imagine not having my parents, so I really have no idea what she is feeling. Best I can hope for is that I can help the pain just a little bit. Amy's mom was going to be my bridesmaid, and I was going to have Amy be the flower girl, but I think I'm going to ask Amy if she would prefer to be my bridesmaid. Amy looks so much both like her parents, and I see so much of their personalities in her. A part of me feels like having her up there with me will make me feel like her parents are up there with me too, and I never once imagined getting married without either of them by my side. All planning for the wedding stopped the moment of the accident for that reason, and even now typing this has me crying that they won't actually be there. But also, that's a lot of pressure to put on Amy. I don't want to tell her all of that. I do want to give her the option to be my bridesmaid if she wants to, and if she doesn't want to, then that's also okay because she is still going to be a part of my wedding. I won't even bring this up for a while because I am still not in the headspace to plan the wedding right now. There is no real reason why I'm posting this. I tried a couple of times to write out what happened, but each time I broke down or deleted it. I think I just wanted to vent or to just feel better. Maybe to get validation that we are doing the right thing and not messing Amy up. One step at a time, I guess. Edit. I am seriously overwhelmed by all the comments. I was trying to respond to every single one, but now I'm falling behind because there are so many. If I don't respond to your comment, still know that I really appreciate your love, your support, your kind words. I wish I could hug every single one of you. I don't know what I was looking for posting here, but I feel immensely grateful I did because you have all shown me so much love and support. I'm just a crying mess, but just know it's definitely happy tears, because I know I feel like I am doing the right thing for Amy. Thank you all so much. Then in the comments section, OP gave her thoughts on the situation and said, "Thank you so much for your kind words and advice. I wrongly assumed that since I had the trust before, it would be easier, but you are right. Losing her parents has put her so on the edge about losing me that she's sometimes overcompensating. I hope she understands that I will always love her." Then one user commented and said, "Okay, who is chopping all of these onions?" This is what my fiance says to Amy when she's crying. Usually he ends up crying with her, and he wants to make her laugh and smile. They'll be crying, and he'll shout, "The onion chopper got us again," so this 100% made me smile. Then user 2 commented and said, "What a lovely ending for a heartbreaking scenario. I would reconsider the terms of the trust, though. I would consult with an attorney and out some terms even if she does attend college to dole it out slowly. And if she does not go to school, then I wouldn't give a lump sum at 21. We are still working out the trust with a lawyer and a financial planner/tax guy, but since this is her money, we can only help and advise her on how to use it. Her parents didn't have a will in place because I'm sure they didn't think they needed to. The money automatically goes to Amy's guardians, which at the time was her grandparents. Like we said, we spoke with all of the grandparents, and whether she goes to college or not, she will get the lump sum at 21. Before then, we would set up an appointment with a lawyer and financial planner/tax guy with her in attendance. We are setting her up to succeed, but at that point, she is an adult. We have to trust her with her money, but we will always be here to help and guide her." Then user 3 commented and said, "I, of course, echo all the sentiments already said in the comments, but I'm stuck on Amy crying herself to sleep and being all alone. Have you thought about getting her a pet? I'd say a dog, a cat, or even a rodent would help. They give kids someone to talk to, someone to look after, instead of being the kid who needs to be looked after, and they teach responsibility. Could be just what she needs. Something to snuggle at night and something to love unconditionally." Wow, it's like you were reading my mind. We were thinking about getting her a rabbit because her parents' nickname for her was Bunny. I grew up with a rabbit, so I understand the pros and cons too. Plus, Amy is so tender in the way she approaches all animals, so I know she won't be rough with a bunny. Also, our state just has an overwhelming amount of rabbits, and most get euthanized due to the shelters being overpopulated. So I feel like rabbits need a lot more love than they can get. Anyways, my fiance and I have been toying with this idea, and I feel like your comment is a sign. Then OP replied to a longer comment and said, "Thank you all for the advice. We are in the process of legal guardianship already, with the help of the grandparents, and adoption is something that we don't want to push or force until she feels ready or if it is even something she wants. We don't want too many changes to be thrown at her because there have been so many in such a short period of time, so we will try to keep everything the same, including her pediatrician. We already have pictures of her and her family up too. I have a wall full of pictures of family, friends, and Amy's dad and mom are frequent and permanent fixtures on that wall. I also gave her permission to add any picture she wanted up there, whether it's her family or friends, and I've noticed over time that she's adding to the wall, so I've taken some pictures down to make more room for her. I originally gave her the guest bedroom, but I noticed she really spent a lot of time in the art room I have at my place, which is a room her dad helped fix up for both Amy and I to use when she would visit me. So after talking to her, I bought a bed and furniture for that room, as well as a lock for privacy. She prefers the door open though, and that's her new room. She's allowed to paint on the walls, draw, do whatever she wants to that room. And also don't worry, it's well ventilated. She's having people over for the first time this coming weekend, so I'm meeting with some parents beforehand. I'm nervous but really excited to see that she's opening up more now. Again, thank you for this. I appreciate the parent brain. And finally, user 4 commented and said, "Isn't the point of godparents to raise the kid if something happens to the parents? Or is that just a label people like to use? I actually thought you were a lesbian couple because the way you spelled fiancé with 2 E's. That is a female fiancé. For a man, there is only 1 E in fiancé.
Godparents is a religious thing and not a legal thing, and are very rarely the legal guardians after something happens to the parents unless they are blood related, like blood aunts or uncles. Godparents are there to mentor and help in the raising of the child. My best friend grew up Catholic but stopped practicing. However, he dubbed me Amy's godparent because he trusted me, and I've been in her life since birth. Legally, guardianship went to his parents. Now, we are in the process of changing guardianship over to myself. Also, I didn't realize that because I've been using both spellings interchangeably. Well, you learn something new every day. Update. 5 months later. It's been a while and people keep reaching out to check in, which I sincerely appreciate, so an update might be warranted. But it might not be exciting, but it's just where we're all at right now. Side note, I wasn't sure if I gave my fiancé a name in my previous posts, but I will refer to him as David moving forward, and my best friend's name moving forward is Leo. First, I want to thank this community for the kind words of encouragement and concern for Amy. It's heartwarming, to say the very least, to receive such support from strangers. There were so many comments that I got that very much overwhelmed me, and I had to stop reading, but I read every single one. And even if I didn't respond, I truly appreciate every single one of you. I just get really shy after a certain point, even though this is all anonymous. Second, a lot of people were really focused on the trust. I commented on my previous post about it, so I'll add it here. Trust me, we are aware that 21 is still mentally really young. We consulted with all of the grandparents regarding the trust, and most of them wanted to give her a lump sum at 18. The compromise was that the lump sum would be given at 21, with her having a sort of allowance from 18 to 21. I will also have her set up with our lawyer and financial advisor when she turns 18. Plus myself and my fiance will always do our best to guide her. But she will be an adult at that point, so all we can do is give her all the tools to help make the best decisions for herself when the time comes. We can always change the rules of the trust if need be, but that is something that will be decided as a family. Right now, we are happy with where we landed. Now, onto the update. David is my husband now. One night we were talking and we just didn't feel comfortable having the wedding this year. But also, we didn't want to wait to be married. Life is short. So, we went to the courthouse with Amy to make it official. We will be having the wedding next year to make it officially official. We are still in therapy, both individual and family, and we are also in a support group for children who have lost parents. And Amy seems to be doing really well in that. As for Amy, she is now 12. It was her first birthday without her parents, so I wish I could say it was an extremely happy occasion, but this year has been a lot of firsts without them, and we will continue to have a lot of firsts without them. But she swears that despite crying a lot on the day of, understandably so, she wouldn't have been able to plan the day better herself, so a bittersweet success. As for a special mention, Amy has a best friend of 5 or 6 years, Monica, who I've known since she was 7, and Monica is lovely. She's a bit sarcastic, which I find hilarious, and is a kind soul. According to Amy, she tried to distance herself from Monica because she felt like she was too sad to be around and didn't want to be a burden. Well, Monica took a bus herself over to our house and basically told Amy to knock it out and that she decides when Amy is too much.
which will apparently never happen because Amy is her favorite person. I was always Team Monica, but that day solidified the fact that I would ride at dawn for her. We ended up getting Amy 2 rabbits as well. And why rabbits, you ask? Well, her parents' nickname for her was Bunny, and we were already planning on getting some kind of animal companion, so we landed on bunnies. Plus, with the overwhelming amount of rabbits in our state and the euthanasia thing due to overpopulation, they need all the love they can get. But why 2? Well, bunnies are social creatures and are happiest being raised with another rabbit. And Amy, she is obsessed with her bunnies, paint, and chalk. After showing her the ropes and doing her own research, she has completely taken over any and all care for them, despite us offering several times. She even has a space in the fridge labeled buns for the fresh greens that she cuts up for them every morning to give them. She decorated an area in her room for them because they will be in her room at night. But they are allowed to venture around the house during the day. After we spent a full day bunny proofing, Amy has been very happy with them, and Paint even sleeps on the bed with her now, which Chalk only sometimes sleeping with her. It also means we are no longer sleeping in her room with her, and only a handful of times has she crawled into bed with us, like on Mother's Day and Father's Day. We are also leaving for a trip to Europe/Asia next week. David and I love to travel, but I actually start to get irritable when I don't travel for a while. David jokes that I always need my fix, and it's a 3-week trip starting in Poland to spend time with David's family for a week, and then Asia from there. The plan was for Amy to be with us for the full 3 weeks, but she really pushed back on that, and we were confused. She only wants to go for the first week in Poland to meet David's family. Side note, his family adores her and has planned a "you're stuck with us forever" party for her, but whenever we asked about the rest of the trip, she said she didn't want to go and that we should go without her. If she didn't want to do something, we get it, and we don't want to force her. Understanding the why, though, was tough for me. Does she not like traveling? No, she enjoys it. Is she afraid? No, she likes flying and thinks it's cool to see new places. Is it too much time away from home? No, she's cool with long trips. So why doesn't she want to go? She just doesn't. In family therapy, the trip came up, and finally, her reason for not wanting to join us on the rest of the trip came up. She feels like David and I are prioritizing her too much and taking her feelings into account more than we should. She feels like we aren't prioritizing our own relationship, or even our other friends and family. She feels like that she is preventing us from doing stuff because we keep thinking about her first. I want to make this very clear. While David and I are prioritizing her more and 100% take her feelings into account when we plan things, we still very much prioritize each other. We have a date night every week. If we do cancel, we make up for it. Our date nights did stop for a few months after Amy moved in with us, but that was just because we needed to adjust. She spends the night at Monica's every week, and that's usually when we go do date night. And we do the same for Monica's mom every week. We also go to the gym together every morning. I'm not a morning person, but I am for David, and we communicate throughout the day. But she made a very good point about our friends and other family. It's been hard to balance a kid in the mix, and we have been a little neglectful. Sure, our closest friends and family usually just come over to our house and aren't shy about being themselves around Amy, but there are events that we have missed by prioritizing Amy. I'm not saying that we made the wrong choice, but she highlighted that we need to start taking care of our other relationships now that she feels safer with us. Amy really is the greatest kid. Even though it hasn't been a full year since they have passed, she has changed so much. I wish she didn't have to grow up as fast as she did, and I hope we can preserve some of her childhood, but I know her parents would be so proud of her. I'm so damn proud of her. We tell her all the time, but I really don't think she grasps just how proud of her we all are. Anyways, we still stressed we would love to have her on the trip with us, but she said we should still have that time for ourselves. So we decided to leave the trip as is. My parents will come with us for the first week in Poland, and then they will fly back home with Amy, with her floating between all the grandparents while David and I are traveling. We will video call her every day to check in. And we are already making more of an effort with our friends and family. Amy is also spending more nights with her many grandparents, which she has been loving because, as she says, "I'm really lucky that I have 4 nanas and 4 papas." David is absolutely doing great in the parent role too. He's been more hands-on with Amy's schooling. He's the one who has been handling the teacher's school stuff and pickups. I do drop-offs. He has the contact information and has made better connections with the other parents of all the kids in her class, plus all her friends' parents. He's been joking about joining the school's version of the PTA, but I don't think he's joking. And he's definitely the extrovert of the two of us, so it isn't surprising. I could probably go on for pages and pages about David just being the absolute best, but I already feel like this update is super long.
I don't know how I would have done any of this without his love and support. While neither one of us are perfect, we are perfect for each other. And it's honestly crazy to me that I can still love him more and more each day. Like, how is that actually even physically possible to love someone this much? Is this even healthy? Anyway, I digress. I think I'm doing okay. Just like Amy is dealing with a lot of firsts without her parents, so am I. At first, I didn't think it was fair to me to even grieve since Amy's situation is just on a whole other level than my own. But my therapist had to remind me not to compare my grief with hers because it is just different. I sometimes imagine what my conversation with Leo would have been like if I told him I'm adopting his daughter, because her parents were my closest friends. He always understood why I didn't want kids, and he was so supportive about it when others disregarded my feelings. I wonder if he would have talked me out of it or if he would have encouraged me to do it. He 100% would have been part of the village of people supporting me, whether he agreed with my decision or not. I just wish I knew what his thoughts would have been about this whole thing. Man, I miss them both so damn much. But I'm also really lucky to have David and Amy. I don't know who said it, but they said it best. If you want the rainbow, you gotta put up with the rain.
Oh boy, guys, I had to pause the recording so many times. I even hugged my mother one time throughout because it's so sad, but in a beautiful sad way. And I mean, really, I got nothing to add. Once again, we have another story of somebody who didn't want to have kids and said, you know what, I'm going to step up and do that responsibility. And good on her, because she did not need to take on Amy, but she wanted to. She felt like it was the right thing. They're adjusting, they're transitioning. And Amy is a smart kid for what, 12 that she is now? She was like, hey, I'm adjusted, but y'all need to focus on yourselves. That's from a 12-year-old girl.
When I was her age, I couldn't even decide if I wanted to watch Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, or Nickelodeon. Like, it was just... Amy is smarter than me when I was 12, and when she's my age now, she will be smarter than me then. She's a good kid, like OP mentioned. But overall, she's got OP and David. She's got all her grandparents. She's got that trust, and this is a horrible, horrible thing to happen to Amy and OP, but it seems like Amy especially is landing on her feet, and that's the best thing you can hope for, and hope that she adjusts, and she is, and, you know, it seems like right now they have all the tools to continue to prosper. So appreciate your friends, appreciate your family, you know, hug them more, compliment their outfit and jeans, and be like, wow, your ass looks great today. Only to your friends, don't say that to your mom, that's weird. But anyway, guys, we are at the end of the long video. Thank you all so much for watching. I love your ass today. Have a good day, and bye-bye!